Good morning, everybody. Welcome. It is Monday, and it's August 17th, year of our Lord 2027, and you are locked and loaded. Rumble.com/LFATV, also simulcasting over on YouTube. It's good to have you here this morning. Thank you for being here. My name is Jeremy Harrell, the Hip Hop Patriot, and I am the host of this show live from America, and we are broadcasting live from the Hawkeye state of Iowa. Please put your hands together, share, like, and comment for this show and for producer Eli. It's his favorite day of the week, everybody. It's Monday. Maybe that'll be someday in the future. But anyway, here's producer Eli.
Hey, what's going on, LFA TV family and Patriots? It's time to hit the Rumble button, time to hit the share button, because he's not correct. It's not my favorite day of the week, so we got a long way to go to get to Friday, so let's go.
We got RL5 Trucker in the live chat. Sherry Welch, Carol is here. Parker 08, UI Manager, Miguel Ortiz, Purple Snowflake, Logan 23. We've got Carol, and we've got Rumble for My Bell, Aeropink, Barb Naylor, Wendy is in the building. Amy is here. Fun Mom is here. Khaki Danny is here. J.A. Fish S. Rose. A1 is in the building. J.M. Jam is here. Echo Bella. Bushy 53 is in the live chat. How are you today? We've got Ashley Garland here. Kiki 48. We've got Liz Ellis in the building. Of course, we've got Charlotte Curry. Audrey is here. Mama Rhett is in the building. 2146 is here. William is here. D. Taylor, and one more, let's give it to Renee Walker. Good morning, good morning, good morning, and happy Monday. August 17th, ladies and gentlemen, year of our Lord, 2026. How was your weekend? How's the start of your week so far? Good? Well, we got a lot of stuff going on in the news. We are getting into that home stretch of the midterm elections. I want to thank Suzanne Vermontes for that. The links in the live chat, these are LFA family safe links, so feel free to click them. Rock and Rev Dean, thank you very much. We are just in that home stretch. We're getting into the last part of August, which is the end of summer. Getting into the election year now for real. We've only got the rest of August, September, and October. That's it. We've got the primaries in Florida tomorrow, I believe. So we've got a lot of ground to cover. We've got a lot of good candidates out there. It's time to make sure we've got the best candidates put forward through all the rest of these primaries, which there isn't many left, in order to get on to that general election and keep the House and keep the Senate. Because without that, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be a rough next 2 years. JM says, remember, voting in Florida tomorrow. So that will be that'll be a big. I think that'll be a big boost. If the right candidates win in Florida tomorrow, it'll be a nice boost for whatever's left out there going into this midterm stretch. So make sure if you're in Florida, you get out tomorrow. Make sure you share it on your Facebook pages. Hey, tomorrow's the day. Tomorrow's the day. Get people ready now. If there's anybody out there that may need a ride, reach out to somebody. Somebody may need a ride, okay? RL5 Trucker says the honorable hip-hop patriot is headed to Congress in 2028. Well, if it's God's will, then we definitely will do that. Moose for Trump, how you doing? Parker, thank you very much. Let me give a live shout-out to some people over in the YouTube chat. We've got Jason, Anita. We've got EDZ. We've got Scott Rollins. A beautiful Bill is over there. The leader, Z60, is over there as well. So, I know there's a lot of hate coming from the left right now, but you know, wherever there's the most hate coming from is most likely the party that's behind in reality. Now, they're not going to be behind in the mainstream media polls. Donald Trump was far behind both Hillary Clinton and cackling Kamala Harris. What happened? He beat the brakes off of both of them. So pay no attention to those. Do what we did in 2024. Too big to rig. Bring people to the polls. Let people know through every social media platform you have, whenever your primaries are. And this is the home stretch. This is where it all really meets, where all of the the rubber meets the road is in this point of the election season. All right? Slam says, do you see Dearbornistan made sure to put up their USA flags to clean up their muzzy stuff before they thought thousands of bikers were coming in? I saw that. Again, it's these places and these people that are doing too much that lets you know where you are in this cycle. And a lot of the hate is coming from the left, as usual. As usual. And you know what's funny is if you say anything back, that's considered hate or vitriol or whatever. So, you know the old saying here. Losers focus on winners. Winners focus on winning. So from here on out, we are done being focused on the left only in the way of which they've always been. We should be highlighting in the way of which they're becoming. The Socialist Party. The Socialists are taking over their party so much that even Hakeem Jeffries, their leader, in the House anyway, had to come out and distance his party from the DSA, from the Democrat Socialist movement. He had to say, look, we're not part of that. It took him about an hour to say 2 sentences, as always, but we're not part of that. If you've got to come out and you've got to distance yourself from the candidates that are winning inside your party within your election primaries, plus you're seeing an elevated amount of hate coming from the left towards Trump, MAGA, and the new Republican Party, that should tell you something. And you know what it tells me? It tells me this. It is MAGA versus DSA in this 2026 midterm election and moving forward. Milton says, Jeremy, I advertise for LFA TV on my page for you. There's a lot of people watching at the moment. I hope it helps. Milton, for everybody who's watching from your share, please say hi to them, and thank you very much. Slam says, Jeremy, it is now coined JSP, the Jihad Socialist Party. I like that because that's really what it is, because they're using socialism and the Islamification of the West, and they're using it as a kind of a symbiotic relationship to take over the Democrat Party. Remember what I told you 6 months ago, right? I told you one of two things was going to happen. Either the level-headed, common-sense Democrats, that very few out there, but there still are some, they're either going to take their party back, or it's going to go to the Socialist Islamic Party. And here we are, folks. That's the war that they're fighting right now. So we, as thank you, Logan, I appreciate that. We, as the leaders of the political parties in this country, we've got the White House, we've got the House, and we've got the Senate, and we've got a majority of conservatives on the Supreme Court. We have to focus on the winning and let them destroy themselves. Socialism and communism will always destroy itself and anybody who's involved with it. It's like we talked about open air drugs this morning. Phones are digital open air drugs. Socialism and communism is another open air drug. It gets people sucked in, and then they can't get out of that lifestyle, and then they end up, self-destructing. So I want to thank Sean MAGA. Here's to start the Monday off right with a $5 train to use where is needed, brother. Thank you, Sean MAGA, I believe it's 1979, but it says 79. So thank you very much. Okay, that's what we're going to talk about today. MAGA versus DSA. But first, as always, got a morning video for you. Of course, the socialist Islamic mayor of New York City would only further his socialist agenda by speaking directly to the people that come from one of the biggest communist/socialism regions in the world. Here's your New York City mayor.
你好，我的名字是 Mayor Zoran Mamdani。我不知道中文，可是我想试一下。纽约市政府将免费送出2000多张百老汇演出门票，请于8月17日 之前访问以下网站，了解如何参加抽签。您还可以免费获得 The Theater Development Fund， 为期2个月的会员资格，享受百老汇演出的折扣。演出现场见。
You know, another way to do that is to just speak and then have it translated at the bottom. You see, if a white Republican was doing this, meaning reading Spanish or French or Chinese, they would say that you're reaching, trying too hard. They might even associate it with cultural appropriation, and they would be eviscerated in the comment thread. Zoran Mamdani. 小心小娃看清楚就爱这更好的这个 Socialist Party. 靠 vote 先引导国话 Like, so stupid. Just speak and have it translated in the bottom. You see, this is, I don't know the correct term that I'm thinking of here, but it's not appropriation. It's more along the lines of making the city believe that you actually give a damn. That's exactly what he's doing. Making the city believe that he actually gives a damn. Now, if that is a sincere, reach out to the Asian community or to the Mandarin-speaking community, then that's one thing. But if you're doing this just to make it look like I love everybody, I would refer you to the Italians of New York City. Do you really love everybody? You left the Italians completely off of your little, you know how you have the beer and wine trails in states? Like if you go to a state that's known for craft beers, you get a map and you got all these craft beer wine craft beer visits or these craft wine visits. Well, he tried to put together something like that not too long ago. We had Mike Crispy on, and he tried to put something together like that to go visit all of these nationalities and what they mean to the city, and left the Italians completely off of it. Completely off of it. Midwest Patriot says it's called sucking up. And everybody knows that they're not sincere. That's the problem with it. I'm not saying anything about somebody who tries to reach out to somebody in another language, especially if you're the mayor of the largest city in the United States of America. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you know it's BS, when you know he doesn't care, then it becomes, okay, chill out. Ji Xiang Hao, okay? Anyway, MDUS says, Mamdani, either way, speaking Muslim or China, must really hate us. Deport him. Absolutely. Absolutely. Logan said, Jeremy, I've been trying to get Mike Crispy to come back to LFA. We're going to have to try hard because he's a busy man. Trust me, Frankie and him both want to have that show again. But even if you did a 1-hour show a day, if you actually care about your show, if you actually care about the information that you're putting out, if you actually do the time in order to put together a show and put together the proper information in an order in which makes sense from beginning to middle to end, that takes prep time. That takes a lot of work, even for a 1-hour show. So if you do a 1-hour show, most generally you're working at least 3 hours to get that 1 hour the way it needs to be. With all your reading, with all of your gathering information, with all of your, fact checking or whatever it is that you do, whatever process that you have, it takes a good 3 hours to do a 1-hour show. I do a 3-hour show. So my whole day is doing that. So I got to try to find time for administrative work. Anyway, long story short, for Mike to come here, it would take a good 3 hours a day, which is about 15 hours a week. Even if he had 4 shows, you're still talking 12 hours a week. And he's traveling so much. He's working with the Italian Civil Rights Division in New York, and he's traveling so much for his work. So it's very, very, very difficult for somebody to do it. And, that is why when people get opportunities where they can go and actually make good money, they take them. And I don't blame them. And having said that, did you guys hear the news for Sean? Sean is not only going to be doing his show at Bongino in the afternoons, but also he's going to be doing a PM radio spot with Dan Bongino. I think they're co-hosting a PM radio spot, Bongino PM. So, big shout out to those who move on. All right, let's go to the Lord in prayer, and then we'll get right into the news of the day. Chi Chang Hao Ong Ching Wa, Jeremy Harrell. All right, hey, I'm just making a little joke there. All right, let's go to the Lord. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Denise said, yes, I saw that on Sean's Facebook page. I'm so happy for him. Slam said, I knew when he did his first Bongino appearance that he was out at LFA. Yeah, I kind of figured that too. I kind of figured he would have been gone a year or so ago when he was really helping out Dan Bongino, doing some fill-in work with him on the radio and other spots as well. But Sean has stayed in our LFA TV chat, and, he's a family member. He's friends. So if anything you ever want to say to Sean, just let us know and we'll tell him in our chat. Was just talking to him this morning. So will Sean still do the weekend sports with you, Jeremy, come football season? That I don't know. We've not really talked about that yet. We haven't had really time to talk about that yet, but I will let you know. All right, lift up your cups. Let's have our first slurp of the day. We are also talking with a few other people right now about adding some new shows here to LFA to the daily lineup. I do have some other news for you as well in the daily lineup. If you watch Secret America, they are going back to their old time of 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, okay? And they will be on their own live stream here. They will not be part of the all-day news stream anymore. They're going to be separated on their own stream here on LFA TV back at the 7 p.m. hour. Okay, I told you months ago that there's going to be a lot of changes coming, so we kind of knew and anticipated some of this, and we're talking to some really good show hosts as well that want to, simulcast their show over here at LFA TV. So just I ask for, allow us a little bit of patience in order to get this all retooled so that we have an all-day lineup set up again here first, okay? Or soon, all right? All right, here we go. First slurp of the day. Eileen says change is good. Sure is. I'm ready. He's ready. You're ready. Let's get to it. First and foremost of the day is this. How many of you remember the Ronald Reagan presidency? So I can remember back, let's see, I was born in 79, so I can remember hearing the name Ronald Reagan in 1985. So the year the Bears won the Super Bowl. How about that? I can go back in my brain to 1985. I was 6 years old, and I can remember hearing people talk about Ronald Reagan. One thing that Ronald Reagan showed is exactly what I say every day. Democrats are the party of big government, short-term gain, long-term pain. It's funny, Kelly. Kelly just said bring on Justin Barkley or Dave Bondi. Justin Barkley's actually one of the people that I'm talking to. Funny you said that. He's actually one of the people that I'm talking to. So, and he's expressed interest being here. So funny you said that. What I'm about to show you that you're going to hear, this is coming from Newsmax. Ronald Reagan showed that the Democrats were the party of big government, short-term gain, long-term pain, where the conservatives are a party of small government, short-term pain, long-term gain. The only way you can have short-term gain is with, and I'm talking super short-term gain, like you elect somebody to come in and relieve your pain. They come in and they relieve your pain in the first year, right? But then what happens is that pain that's relieved starts wearing off in the second year. And by the third and the fourth year of a president's term, people are tired of it because it didn't work. Whatever they wanted didn't work. So what they do is just what they did in the Biden presidency. They run to Donald Trump. That's what they did there. Or they run to whatever conservative is on the ballot, because it is very rare that a Democrat can show you long-term gain. I mean, just look at history, right? Their first couple of years, great, right? Whatever they inherit seems to turn around. It's because they hire a massive amount of government workers. The government steps in, and the government gives immediate relief to pain. But that's not sustainable because the government is not private sector. The government has no way to structure a foundation of long-term gain. So what happened at the end of President Ronald Reagan's first term, all of that stuff, all of that infrastructure that he had built, you needed another 4 years in order for that to take place and carry on long term. That's exactly what happened, and that is the same spot that President Trump finds himself in today.
Donald Trump, even if you didn't vote for him, we are still dealing with the hangover from a really bad Biden economy, and Reagan went through the same thing that Trump is going through right now.
Oh, what happened there? Did they remove that video, or is it still there? It's still there. Okay. My fault, folks. Let me bring that back up here for you. We'll start it over, too. That way, if anybody missed anything, bring it back.
Donald Trump, even if you didn't vote for him, we are still dealing with the hangover from a really bad Biden economy. And Reagan went through the same thing that Trump is going through right now before the 1982 midterms.
Absolutely.
The new House will look like this: 269 Democrats, 166 Republicans. That's a gain of 26 for the Democrats.
The lesson for Republicans: perhaps the voters are nervous about the present and future course of the Reagan administration.
Gosh, biased media even back then. Isn't it unbelievable? Think about it like this. In the 1982 midterms, Democrats already controlled Congress. They already controlled it. They still picked up 26 seats. After that, Democrats were absolutely convinced that Reagan was going to be a one-term president, and all the big names, even Ted Kennedy, started lining up to run against him in 1984, including former Carter Vice President Walter Mondale, who, just like Kamala Harris today, Joe Biden's vice president, thought the country wanted change, but he was wrong.
You already are the oldest president
one
in
of the best
history.
clips
Some of your
ever
staff
right here.
say you were tired after your most recent encounter with Mr. Mondale. I recall yet that President Kennedy had to go for days on end with very little sleep during the Cuba Missile Crisis. Is there any doubt in your mind that you would be able to function in such circumstances?
Not at all, Mr. Truitt, and I want you to know that also I will not make
Mondale knew he lost the election
That was
right
perfect.
there, and he did. And by
Yep.
election day, Reaganomics were working.
right.
The economy was booming. The go-go 80s was just getting started. It was also the decade of Donald Trump, by the way. Ronald Reagan would win 49 states in 1984, the greatest landslide in presidential history. Donald Trump would build Trump Tower. He wrote The Art of the Deal. He became a billionaire for the very first time.
4 years ago, when we celebrated victory in this same room, our country was faced by some deep and serious problems. But instead of complaining together, we rolled up our sleeves and began working together. You'll forgive me. I'm gonna do it just one more time. You ain't seen nothing yet.
Fast forward to today, and the same experts are doing the same thing they did in 1982 as we head in to the 2026 midterms.
This is the trend that
on.
makes Republicans in Congress shake in their boots, because it is one thing if President Trump has low approval ratings on inflation. The question, of course, is will it funnel its way down ballot? Information like this, data like this says it absolutely will. And now Democrats lead on the issue. They got President Trump reelected in the first place, simply put, because they don't think the President of the United States is keeping his campaign promises, and will absolutely take it out on Republicans this fall.
So very similar to 1982, Republicans are going into another midterm cycle, still dealing with the aftershocks of a really bad Democrat president. It's worth noting that when Donald Trump left office, nobody does this. When he left office in 2021, inflation was 2.4%. Gas was $2.39 a gallon. Mortgage rates were at an all-time low. Put another way, Donald Trump handed Joe Biden one of the best economies in American history, and then Joe and Kamala ruined it with mandates and lockdowns and complete stupidity, to the point where Joe Biden is now compared to Jimmy Carter. That's his legacy. And Donald Trump is now being compared to Ronald Reagan. And the economy is going to come back. It's already started, but it's going to take time, just like it did in 1982. But think about it like this. There is a reason that no living Democrat president has handed over the White House to another Democrat president since 1857. Because Democrats start wars and destroy the economy, which is why the American people never elect two in a row. Think about that.
So, if you're a person that says, but Donald Trump started a war in Iran. Donald Trump can end that war in Iran anytime he wants. Jimmy Carter could not end his problem with Iran. You understand? George Bush could not end the surge in the Iraqi freedom, first Desert Storm. He got into the point where he could not get out. Donald Trump can get out anytime he wants because he controls the Strait. The Navy controls the Strait. Iran is losing hundreds of billions of dollars a day. Is it cause for gas to go up, in turn cause for groceries to go up? Absolutely. Absolutely. But is that because of the policy to go and fight with Iran? Or is it because the gas giants, Chevron, Exxon Mobile, and the other, are bringing in record high profits, using this as an opportunity to bring in record high profits? If the Biden administration voters said presidents do not set the gas prices, well, then that's got to be true today. And maybe Chevron and Exxon Mobile and the rest, maybe, just maybe they were doing the exact same thing. But in Biden's case, they knew that they could get the world to blame it on Biden. And in this case, they know that they can get the world to blame it on Trump. The only time there should be a gas hike or a price of a barrel of oil hike is when there's a supply and a demand issue. There was never that. No matter what stopped coming through the Strait of Hormuz, it was backed up and backfilled by what was coming out of the United States of America. Put another way, let's talk about it this way. I have it pulled up here. Exxon Mobil and Chevron just reported, and anybody that's watching, search engines are usually free. They point you to where you can get this information. You can go look at this information and you can decide for yourself with discernment whether or not you're getting the truth or not. Nowhere is going to tell you any different if you go look this up than this right here. Exxon Mobil and Chevron just reported a massive second quarter profit for 2026, fueled by surging global energy prices amid disruptions from the war in Iran and constraints in the Strait of Hormuz. That's what they say. Here's the problem with that. The problem with that is that nobody was short on energy. They just got it from somewhere else. Now, should there be a small price hike for maybe getting it from somewhere else so geographically it takes longer to ship? Possibly. But ExxonMobil just posted a $14.5 billion profit, while Chevron recorded a $12.1 billion profit. Breaking down even further, here are the facts. ExxonMobil earned $14.5 billion. Do you know what that represents? Are you ready to shit a brick? More than double its profits from the same period last year. with production hitting roughly 4.5 million barrels of oil equivalent per day. Do you hear what I just said? I don't care what the left thinks. I don't care what anybody thinks. The facts are the facts. And the facts are this. They just recorded more than double profits this second quarter than they did the same time last year. So, where is your money going? To the profits of Exxon Mobile and Chevron. You ready for this one? That was Exxon Mobile. This one will really piss you off. Chevron just logged a $12.1 billion profit. You know what that represents? Ready for this, Eli? Quadrupling its earnings from the prior year. Backed by a record U.S. upstream output. Exxon and Chevron distributed $9.4 billion and $6.6 billion, respectively, through dividends and share buybacks. So, what are you supposed to say, right? What are you supposed to say to somebody when you're debating them about Trump's policies making it more expensive at the pump when they would not capitulate that same admission under Biden? Remember, the response was the president doesn't set the gas prices. You're damn right, the president doesn't set the gas prices. Do his policies affect the gas prices? Absolutely. But only in the way of the oil and gas and energy companies going, how can we exploit this to make it look like it's not us, it's somebody else? You have Exxon Mobil doubling their profits since last year at the same time, and you have Chevron quadrupling its profits from last year at the same time. You wonder where your money's going? It's not in the pockets of bureaucrats. It's not in the pockets of Democrats or Republicans, unless these energy companies pump money into their campaigns, which I wouldn't doubt there's a deal going on there with the Democrats and the energy companies. Cindy says response is Google the oil and gas profits. That's exactly right. Why would you blame it on anybody else outside of that? That's what we're dealing with here. And everybody should be aware of that. Now I want to go to Scott Bessent, okay? Because Scott Bessent says this. Scott Bessent was on Rob Schmidt, and he said that wage gains for the bottom 25% of the working force are up 5.5%. So when you see where are real wages, and you Google or you Bing or you Brave or you ChatGPT or you Grok or anything to help you put you towards the source of information, you're going to see real wages are not up overall, but they're up in the place where they need to be up. The bottom 5.5% of American wage earners. That's where it needs to. That is where it starts, and then it goes up through the ranks. So the people that really need the wages are coming in. They got a 5.5% wage increase. But you'll never hear that ever in an actual substantive debate. Do you want to know why you don't hear that? Because two people can't agree on the basis of truth to the point where they actually get the truth out. The point of a debate is to get the truth out. Not who gets the greatest sound bites, not who has the greatest moments, not who has the best mic drop moments. And it's not supposed to be for either of the audiences to go, you know what? No matter what, my guy wins or my girl wins. The point of a debate is actually to get to the truth. So if anybody's going to sit down and have a debate, the first thing that you should do is you should say, what's our basis of truth? What information are we going to go to, or where are we going to go to get the information that we believe is the truth? Where are we going to go? What is that agreed upon metric? If we can get to that, then you can actually have a debate about the facts. Those are the facts. Those are the facts. The bottom 5.5%. Now, there's a video here from Scott Bessent when he was on Newsmax talking about this. It is an 11-minute and 22-second video, so not sure where in the video they're going to talk exactly about that, because it is about Iran, which also talks about gas prices, the economy, stuff like that. Let's listen into a little bit of it here.
Good to have you back on the show. I want to start right there where we just left off. The socialist movement that seems to be, in a way, taking over the Democrat Party. Cost of living is fueling a lot of this, as you know, in this country. And despite a lot of positive economic news, there's still a feeling from a lot of people that things are too expensive. I think it's kind of fueling what we're seeing here. How do we get rid of that liability, before we vote again here in November? How do we ease that so this movement kind of dies out?
Rob, good to be with you. And look, this comes up all the time. We spent 45, 50 years fighting communism, the Soviet Union, which collapsed. Show me where it's ever worked before, whether it's the Soviet Union, Cuba, Venezuela. And these policies, you always end up with less. You always end up with less of what people want. And look, people should be upset. The Biden administration torched them. It was 21.5% unemployment, 4 or 5% loss of purchasing power. Wages didn't keep up. And for working Americans, I think the inflation level is probably 30 or 35% for things like autos, insurance.
I'll tell you what, talking about the inflation and wages not keeping up, when you get inflation up to 10%, 9 point whatever percent it was overall, wages never even close to kept up with that. How come nobody said anything about that then? How come it's always only about the same thing over and over and over again? And they'll tell you, don't bring up the past. The current is the issue. You're right. But when you are gauging your metrics off how good or bad a president does based on the president before him, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the hypocrisy that flows from your mouth constantly. We're going to talk about it. You don't think we're going to when you're the ones talking about it? If your metric is Donald Trump did a worse job than Joe Biden, I'm going to show you where everything in that you just said is an absolute lie. An absolute lie. And we've gone through them before. I'll be happy to go through them again. Prior to COVID, and the only reason I'm saying that is because COVID is an anomaly, and you guys are going to award those job creation numbers to Joe Biden based on bounce back numbers, well, then we're going to count the jobs and where it bounced back from. President Trump created 6.1 million jobs in 3 years. Private sector. Private sector. The size of the federal government went down, which means he fired people. He's done the same thing in his second term. Joe Biden only created 5.3 million jobs in all 4 years. Private sector. But then hired 1.77 million government employees, increasing the size of the government. So if you're talking private sector jobs, which is the bread and butter of this country, what makes the world go round and round and round, the gears of this country, President Trump created almost 1 million more in a year less. So I don't even want to hear that stuff. He also handed off a 2.4% inflation, also handed off record low interest rates, and then look what Biden did. Took everything way back up, albeit it was coming back down at the end. I would argue the only reason that things were coming back down on the end was because of the news that President Trump had won the election. So in those last 4 months before President Trump took over, some things started to drop and be revised. I wonder why. But the facts are the facts. You can go look them up yourself. Google's free. You don't need a debate from anybody to get the actual facts. Back to Scott Bessent.
Rent. And we've been trying to bring those down. Core inflation printed 2 days ago, 2.5%. It was a very good number, moving towards the Fed's 2%. The Iran conflict has given us a temporary spike in energy prices.
Which
we're going to get to the other side of this and come down. And what we've seen over the past year is that the bottom 25% of working Americans, their wages were up 5.5%. Overall wages were up above 4%. And look, 3.5% headline inflation. That's a real wage gain. It's not great, but a lot of times I tell people I feel like an emergency room doctor. The patient came in, he'd been backed over by a truck, and the first thing we had to do was stabilize the patient, And now we've applied the right medicine, and things are getting better slowly. And I think every week we are seeing real wage gains. Prices are coming down. The CPI numbers showed drug prices are down.
We're going to talk about that in a minute.
Grocery prices have flattened out. Car insurance is down. So I'm very confident we are going to get to a good place. And it's unfortunate to see this DSA movement getting this kind of traction.
Yeah, it is. I just, you look back, if you look back at how it was for Reagan when he dealt with a very similar issue, it took so many years for that to kind of work its way through. I wonder if there's any indication that you guys see at Treasury of how long you think Americans will still feel kind of like they can barely keep up with this kind of inflated economy. How long do you think this lasts for the average American?
Well, again, what we're not going to do is tell Americans what they're feeling, like the Biden administration do. That they said it was a 5 session, and we know what has happened here. But I think as people feel the turn, which they should be now, then there is light at the end of the tunnel. Things are getting better. We're seeing construction jobs picking up. We're seeing manufacturing jobs picking up. The unemployment rate dropped.
Sure did.
We're seeing the big component of the workforce, the mid-20s to mid-50s, is very stable. And Rob, the other important thing too is these jobs are going to Americans. Like, we have seen over 2 million jobs created for Americans, and we've seen over 1 million illegals leave the workforce. And guess what?
I have to stop right there because I have to tell you something that just happened close to me, okay? And then we'll get back into this. And he's absolutely right. Unemployment numbers have fallen. Inflation just fell. And when he's talking about American people are getting the jobs, the illegals aren't, let me just tell you this is a rough story to tell because it just happened here across the river from where I live. In Rock Island, Illinois, Tyson Foods just closed down. They closed down, which affects 2,500 jobs. And not only the 2,500 jobs, it's a massive, massive, massive plant. But not only the 2,500 jobs were lost, but also the food that goes to the community, the food shelters, the homeless shelters, the pantries, the churches, the drives, the food drives, that's all gone too. That's a big hit, right? That's a big hit. Why did it happen? Why did Tyson Foods close in Rock Island, Illinois? Do you want to know the truth of why it closed? I'll tell you why. Because for the last year, ICE has been in Rock Island and Moline, Illinois, as well as over the river here in Iowa. Okay? They deported so many illegal aliens from that plant that worked at that plant that they could not afford to hire the American worker based on the budget and the model that they had. It put them out of business. Now, the bad part of that is it puts out of business that absolutely was great for the economy of a city. But when you see how many illegal aliens were working there, and you've seen how many were deported in that town, and the business closes out because they say to themselves, we're not going to put the money in anymore. I said, so why didn't they just open it up over here in Iowa? Well, you'd have to build a $2 billion building, number one. And that building is just going to sit there and rot. The taxes in Illinois are through the roof. And them hiring actual American workers would have been too much for them. So Tyson said, see you later, Rock Island. And now they're going to let Rock Island just continue to go down the drain, which it's been going down there for decades anyway. Okay? Tyson employs illegal aliens. Do you want these plants to close? No. Do you want them to close if they're depending on illegal aliens to work? Absolutely. The free market will work its way out. It always does.
Laws of supply and demand still work. When you take the illegals out of the workforce, working class wages go up. When you send them back home, rents go down.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's very true.
So
the deportation process should be the one thing that can help kind of ease. Housing's been the worst. I mean, housing has just exploded. Nobody can afford a home. That's what's really crushing, I think, the spirit of the younger generation is you're 30 years old and you're renting. That's just not a good feeling. I want to move here for a second. I want to talk about
I don't know
Iran.
about that.
You have been working behind the
rent.
scenes in this war to dismantle this regime in Iran economically and inflict kind of heavy financial damage on it. The methods that Treasury has been using to do this in this war have been described as brilliant, from what I understand. The sanctions targeting their banking system and multiple networks spread out across several countries that enable Iran's banks to move hundreds of millions of dollars. You're limiting the ways that this regime...
I want to kind of go through the Iran stuff right now. We're going to get back to Iran a little bit later. I want to get back to economic news, money, things like that, people's finances.
It's typical that they're uninformed, deranged, and have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah. Two more quick ones for you before I let you go. I want to just hit the national debt because it's something that I personally feel is very important. We're about to cross $40 trillion. I know how hard it is to cut government back once you go down a spending path. COVID took us to a place we've never been before. We're still kind of at that place. We're still spending about $2 trillion more a year than we bring in. Is there any way to get this under control?
Well, we did get it under control. We inherited a mess, about 6.8% deficit to GDP, which was the highest we'd ever seen when we weren't at war, weren't in a recession. And calendar year 2025, we actually brought it down to 5.5%. I've set a target of having something with a 3 in front of it as a percent of GDP to the deficit by when the president leaves, and then we start paying down debt at that point. So we got it down to 5.5% for calendar year 2025, and now this year we had to refund the tariffs, which have been about $170 billion. That's one time. We're going to continue taking in the tariff income this year. And then the other thing, too, to be cognizant of, in the working families tax cut, we had the immediate expensing for factories and the factory goods for equipment. And so that is a hit now to the deficit, but we are creating productive assets for future growth, which will be paying taxes all the way down the line. So I think of that more as like pulling back a slingshot and creating a lot of potential energy that becomes kinetic.
Yeah, it's such a difficult problem trying to get government spending under control and the size of government. You guys are doing it in a number of different ways. I love to see the job losses in the federal government coming out of that jobs report. I love to see that.
So
I got about 30 seconds left. Go ahead. Yeah.
It's the job losses in the federal government, but it's also what President Trump has instructed us to do. Vice President Vance is leading the charge on the fraud task force. There are estimates by GAO that we've got over 600 billion of fraud every year. And to put that in context, every 300 billion is 1% of GDP. So if we could save 300 billion, that would get the deficit down by 1% of GDP. I think there's more there. The vice president has all hands on deck. Every department is contributing.
And putting people in jail for the fraud.
And the main thing there is once the money gets out, very difficult to retrieve it. So we are stopping it at the source, and I'm very optimistic that we could have several $100 billion of savings.
It's certainly a start, and I'd love to hear that. Trump accounts is my final question. It's a great idea. I think people love it.
All right. Let's break down what we've got here. Record high 401ks, record high stock markets, federal trade deficit cut in half, unemployment down, inflation down, wage growth for the bottom tier of American workers up 5.5%. But you're paying more in gas, groceries, and home prices. The groceries are directly related to the gas. The home prices and the rent are directly related to millions of people overwhelming a system. Oh, and by the way, getting almost interest-free loans to get homes in some states. Is that about right? Is that about break it down correctly? So your economy was worse under Joe Biden with no direct involvement in a war, just paying billions of dollars for other people to have a war. And your economy overall is better today. The inflation is way better in a war. Gotcha. So, here's another one. Investments into this country. Apple just opened an advanced U.S. manufacturing center in Texas. As a $600 billion American investment surges under President Trump. Eli Lilly, Hyundai, Honda, Apple, NVIDIA, Toyota. I can't even think of the name of the companies that are doing the chip manufacturing, but you've got $19 trillion of investments into this country in a year and a half. Yeah, you might not be seeing that when you're swiping your card at the pump, but it'll get there. Short-term pain, long-term gain. And you're not even under the same pain you were under in the last administration. AA Ron Broski said, I just bought 30 eggs last night for $4.89. That would have been 5 eggs 3 years ago, 2 years ago. You know what I mean? So, long story short, the economy is not nearly what the mainstream media tries to drill into these lefties' heads. I'd much rather live in a today than a 2023. Ask yourself that. Money-wise, would you rather be today or in 2023 going into 2024? You know how bad things were at that moment? Now, with the drug prices, promises made, promises kept. RX drug prices plummet, recording the sharpest drop since 1963 and the largest 6-month decline in history. Where'd that come from? Prescription drug prices are too high. Really? Because this says otherwise. So either you're a liar or you're parroting something that you saw on TikTok. President Trump promised Americans that he would reduce the cost of prescription drugs, and it might have well been a bitter pill to swallow. But the Washington Post has reported that this feat has been achieved. Quote, this is from the Washington Compost for the lefties that might be watching. Prescription drug prices recorded the biggest year-over-year drop in more than 60 years in July. Quote, no president in modern history has been able to drastically reduce prescription drug prices across the board except for President Donald J. Trump. Whoa, that's from the Washington Compost? Quote, this is a direct result of the president's willingness to push the envelope with bold policies that actually put Americans and America first, said a Trump spokesperson. The Washington Post noted that the Bureau of Labor Statistics released inflation data last Wednesday. It revealed that the cost of medicinal drugs fell 2.7% from July 2025 to July 2026, which is the largest decline on record. Investment research firm Renaissance Marco said that the prescription drug prices are falling at a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 6.6%, which is called, quote, the sharpest 6-month drop on record ever. White House officials noted that the launch of Trump RX, a website where the president has directed Americans to find lower prices on the medicines they need, came amid the decline in prices. A medical pilot program resulted in drug manufacturers such as Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly, another company who's investing billions of dollars to do their stuff here, not somewhere else, charging $245 per month for Wegovy, Zepbound, and Foundayo. The monthly costs had been above $1,000 previously. So from $1,000 to $245. Let me say that one more time. From $1,000 to $245. Thank you, President Trump. I know it's hard to say on the left, but just say Thank you, President Trump. In a debate, if it was actually the truth the two people were getting to, they would look at that and both people would go, that's amazing. That's a point for the president. Oh, inflation down, point for the president. Oh, bottom wage earners up 5.5%, check mark for the president. Oh, trade deficit cut in half, boom, check for the president. That will never, ever happen. That'll never happen. You'll never get somebody on the left to go, wow, I didn't realize that. You may not get that from anyone on the right as well. Because people are so worried about their sound bites and their mic drop moments than they are with debating facts. Quote, in a matter of months, we got up and running these discounts in a way that they were meaningful for American patients, a White House official added. President Trump is delivering on promises to ensure American patients no longer pay high prices to subsidize low prices in the rest of the world, something the political establishment did not believe was possible. Both sides of the aisle, by the way. So, what do you think? Are you somebody out there who has seen a decline in your prescription medicines that you pay for? And if so, what is that decline? If you don't mind letting us know. Now, usually this is your personal health. So if anybody doesn't want to talk about that in the live chat, it's completely fine. But if you do feel comfortable talking about it, if you've seen anything yet, let us know. Put it in the comment section. Individual testimonials are always up here compared to polling. So now get this. Back to the Exxon Mobile and Chevron. When oil hit $147.50 a barrel in 2008, gas never got over $3.80 a gallon. There wasn't an influx of electric cars then, neither. So now we have we have millions of people with electric vehicles out there. So we should have as far as gas in vehicles goes, we should have relatively lower numbers of people driving gas-powered vehicles today than we did 15 years ago. So my question is, and if somebody's got the answer to this, please let me know. Why did gas never get over $3.80 a gallon in 2008 when a price of a barrel of oil was $147.50? But at this moment, price of a barrel of oil is $80 and gas is $4 a gallon. Something doesn't seem right there. Can anybody fill in the blanks? Anybody? Cal says, so we have high gas, high groceries, and high rent. And we should all just understand and deal with it? That's what most people need to live. Not the stock market or the so-called debt. No, not at all. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, why do you have the high gas prices? Why do you have the high grocery prices? And why do you have the high rent? That's what I asked. Why? Because your answer will determine where you take your vote. If you think the reason why we have high rent, high house prices, high groceries, and high gas is President Trump's fault with the information that I've given you, with the doubling of the double profits of Exxon Mobile and the quadrupling of profits of Chevron a year over year, which affects every good that you buy because you need fuel to transport goods and to bring goods from state to state to state to get in the stores or to get in the ground to the gas pumps. I'm not saying deal with it. What I'm saying is, why is it that way? And then you can make your best informed decision moving forward. But again, if it's not the oil and gas companies, then why are they showing double and quadruple profits? And why in 2008, when a barrel of oil was almost $150, did it never get over $3.80 a gallon? And why are we here today? The answer is straight up non-refutable price gouging. That's it. It can't be anything else. Meanwhile, we find out that the DOJ just said that $4 million in SPLC donations were secretly funneled to people associated with violent extremist groups from the SPLC. Wire fraud, money laundering, false statements, those are the charges that the former SPLC director now has against her in her indictment and moving forward with her prosecution. And the left has been funneling money through the Department of Education, the EPA, the USAID, Act Blue, and other places for years. And now they're broke. And you're asking, not you specifically, but people are asking, why are we here today? Ladies and gentlemen, let me just tell you something. Halo, you're right. Actually, today's prices are still lower than Biden's term. You're absolutely correct. They are. The housing and the rent, that has to do with millions of people coming in and taking the housing. You get rid of all those million illegal aliens, you got a lot of houses. Supply and demand all of a sudden starts right-sizing, and boom, there you go. Those are your big ones. JJ said, Jeremy, it's the price gouging along with the reduction of refineries, and that's why we're building a new refinery in Texas. You're right. You are 100% right. Audrey says, my medication is $6. I pay Part D for $40 a month. Who's screwing us? There you go. There you go. So, I don't think we're $40 trillion in debt. I think we're $40 trillion in fraud. That's what I think. You could let me know what you feel in the comment threads, but I don't think we're $40 trillion in debt. I think we're $40 trillion in fraud. I think if we had not had the fraud from both sides, particularly over the last 20 years, the Democrat Party, then we wouldn't be nearly in the debt that we're at. So, is it ever one president's fault? Absolutely not. Ever. It is lifelong, non-termed politicians and bureaucrats setting laws and creating red tape for us while they win. It's that simple. We'll be right back.
In the long history of the world, the struggle to survive has been a constant. The human spirit has been frequently tested. Every man has had his own struggle. Every man has made sacrifices. And every man has been pushed beyond their limits. Survival is crucial. The desire to be prepared has never wavered. Generations that came before us realized the importance of gaining every advantage. How you face adversity could change your life. Success depends on it. History is defined by it. Our spirit is fueled by it. Our strength comes in many forms. The strength to fight, the strength to overcome, the strength to believe, the strength to win, the strength to rise. Rise Up Coffee. Rise up to meet your challenge.
And you can get either one of our coffees on lfatv.us, or you can also get it on jeremyharrell.com. There's another reason why your house and rent looks the way it does. There's two companies called BlackRock and Vanguard. Do you know them? BlackRock and Vanguard. They have bought up so much real estate, single and multifamily homes in this country. And they've jacked the prices up so much that the comps in the area have to raise their prices in order to be, hold on one second. In order to be competitive. Sorry about that, folks. In order to be competitive, they've had to raise their rates and raise the prices of their houses as well. It's not just BlackRock and Vanguard that are doing it. It's the Chinese Communist Party. They're also doing it. The CCP is doing the same exact thing. Okay? This last Saturday, I had a show. I don't know if you guys saw it or not, but we had a special on this. And a lot of people, as they get closer to their retirement, they're looking for different ways to expand their portfolio, whether it's precious metals, whether it's real estate, whether it's Bitcoin, whether it's the stock market, whether it's their 401k, whether it's the value in their home, whatever it is. Everybody is looking for another way to expand their portfolio. So this Saturday, I did an interview with an amazing man named Mark. And Mark runs these free seminars on you taking the middleman out of the equation in 2026, not needing some hedge fund manager, not needing some stock market manager to be able to go in even at 1 penny and start trading on stocks that he will show you that are the ones that you get the return on. And he does daily Zoom calls where you can go in and you can see what he's doing. I did an interview with him this Saturday, and you know what he told me? A new law just went through, and it was part of a bigger bill. And a new law went through that says BlackRock now has access to your 401k, meaning that hedge fund and stock market management companies that you entrust with your 401ks are now opening that up to BlackRock. So BlackRock is using your money to make it money of your 401k. You know how many people would be pissed off if they knew that was the case? That's what we talked about on Saturday. If you did not watch that show on Saturday that said 401ks under siege, you need to go and you need to watch that show because it lays out for you exactly what BlackRock is doing. Now, this is free to reserve your seat. All you have to do is go to freelfaticket.com. Just go to freelfaticket.com and you can reserve your seat for this Thursday and Saturday. I'm going to be in both of them. It's absolutely free. And you know what you get when you join? You get a free downloadable book from them. And if you can show receipt that you joined in that free seminar, you get a free t-shirt from us. All you have to do is email us your receipt, or not your receipt, but your involvement in that seminar on Thursday or Saturday. You get a free t-shirt from us and you get a free book from them. Reserve your seat today at Free LFA Ticket or freelfaticket.com. I'm going to put it right here in the live chat. This is for you guys to take matters into your own hands. Free Ticket LFA. That's what it is. freelfaticket.com. There you go. I put it in the live chat for you so you guys have it. I'll also post it at the top. Join in that seminar. I'll be there with you on Thursday and Saturday. This comes from me and my wife wanting to get involved in this and not having to do a big buy-in. You could start doing this with 5 cents if you wanted to. So it's up to you. You guys want to join. It's a free seminar. You pay nothing. Reserve your seat today at that place that I just pinned in the top, okay? All right, let's get back to business here. Now we're going to talk about Hakeem Jeffries rejecting the Democrat Socialists of America agenda, but welcomes them into the Democrats' broad caucus, but says you will not be in charge. No. I wondered how long that was going to take for the House Minority Leader to have to come out and separate himself from the Democrat Socialists of America. I wondered. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries has said that he does not agree with the program of the Democratic Socialists of America. They will form part of a broad caucus, however, if Democrats take the House this coming November, to include them in, but not to be running it. You will not drive it, but we'll include you in. Do you think the Democrat Socialists of America are going to take him up on his offer? I highly doubt it. Openly socialist candidates are gaining serious traction in the Democrat Party over the recent primary season, most notably in Michigan, where DSA member and proud Islamo-Marxist Abdul Muhammad al-Sayed is the party's candidate in November for that state's Senate seat. In an interview on NBC's Meet the Press, host Kristen Welker, asked Hakeem Jeffries whether he supported their platform. Jeffrey said, well, what I can say is that I don't support defunding the police, but I do not also support open borders. Uh-oh. And I do not support abolishing the Senate. Uh-oh. How many of you guys think the Democrat Socialists of America are going to agree to that and say, okay, yeah, you're right. We'll just be part of your party. J Law says, can we get the link to last Saturday's show about the 401k? All you have to do is go to our Rumble page and you'll see it in there last Saturday. It says 401k is under siege. Go watch that show. I encourage everybody to do that. He says, we're focused on actually solving problems that hardworking American taxpayers want us to solve, which is lowering the high cost of living in a situation where life is far too expensive in the country. Well, how are you going to do that? Remember when Barack Obama said to Donald Trump, he's just going to wave a magic wand? Well, Donald Trump waved that magic wand, but he also said how he was going to do it prior to him coming in. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? How are you going to lower the cost of housing? Democrat Party or Democrat Socialist of America Party? You're gonna freeze rent for everybody in the nation? You're gonna force foreclosures of hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of pieces of property that people own because you're gonna freeze rent on them and they're not gonna be able to pay them? Like, the only way to do it is to build more housing very quickly, or deport illegal aliens that shouldn't be in the houses to begin with. How are you going to do it? It sounds good. And it sounds good to young people, but nobody ever asks how. And politicians lie. Welker says, do you think, though, that there's room in the Democratic Party under the Democratic tent for the socialists? Is it big enough? He said, well, listen, I don't support the DSA agenda as has been articulated by the DSA itself. Now, if you're going to have individual members who have been elected in Democratic primaries, and if they are elected in the general in November, will be a part of the House Democrat caucus. It's going to be a broad caucus. Wrong answer. Your Democrat Party is already rejecting the socialists that want to take it over. You don't have a strong stance against socialism in your party, you're going to either lose your party or you're going to lose to the Republicans. I think it's the latter. Actually, it's probably both.
Do Democratic Socialists belong in the Democratic Party, Leader Jeffries?
Well, what I can say is that I do not support defunding the police. I do not support open borders. I do not support abolishing the Senate. We're focused on actually solving problems that hardworking American taxpayers want us to solve, which is to lower the high cost of living in a situation where life is far too expensive in this country. That's the Democratic agenda. That's what House Democrats are fighting to achieve.
Do you think, though, that there is room in the Democratic Party under the tent of the Democratic Party for Democratic Socialists? Is it big enough?
Well, listen, I don't support the DSA agenda as has been articulated by the DSA itself. Now, you're going to have individual members.
Is that bad or good for him? Let us know in the live chat. We'll pull up the Rumble live chat. Was it bad for him to say that for electability going into the general election? See, here's what I think. I think the Democrats opening up their party to socialism and saying that over the airwaves is just as bad as a Republican saying the word amnesty over the airwaves. You look what happened to Mike Lindell. Mike Lindell was leading all polls, showed him leading heavily in the Republican primary in Minnesota. He mentioned amnesty, and at that moment, during that same week, he started to tank. So you got to ask yourself, is the reason Mike Lindell lost all support because he mentioned amnesty? And if that's the case, would you think that the Democrats' amnesty rhetoric is accepting socialism? I think it is. I think Democrats lose 10 times out of 10 if the people of that city, state, region, think that they're aligning themselves with socialism. We're not there yet. We're just not there yet. Are we far off? No, because look at Bernie actually won the primary in the Democratic primary, and he got it stolen from him. And he openly said, oh, a Democratic socialist. I am a Democratic socialist. And the oligarchy and the filibuster. So, question is to the LFA audience watching today. Is the socialism and the talk of socialism the Democrats' kryptonite the same way that amnesty is to a Republican? That's the question. Let's pull it up. Mike Lindell must be stupid. Can't believe he said that. He really screwed things up with that statement. That's a pretty harsh statement right there itself, but it is your opinion. Jeffries said Biden borders were closed. Clearly they weren't. Another lie from Jeffries. Hakeem gets hemorrhoids from riding the Democrat fence. The Democrat Party is on life support, says A.A. Ron Broski. Tracy Lynn says, I hope so. Don Blosson said, poof, Mike be gone. Now, I will say Mike Lindell did walk that back. I don't know if he meant to say it or what. He did walk it back. He knew what he said was bad. I don't think Mike is a bad guy. I just think he said the wrong thing at the wrong time. Maybe he believes it, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. B-Hops, Republicans don't support amnesty. Majogo, I hope so. Easy Money Man says it's communism. Kimberly says it's true. Jersey Jane, Lindell stupid speaking before he thinks. Well, that could be the leftover cocaine that's still in his system. I don't know. Jeremy, Mike Lindell cleared that up. Amnesty was fake news. He never said that. Peachy, we played it. We played it. We played what he said. We also played him clearing it up. He didn't clear up fake news. He backtracked what he said, unfortunately. And that sucks. I love the guy. I don't think he's got a bad bone in his body when it comes to the safety of this country. But we played what he said here. I can't defend what he said. Can I defend him walking it back and him saying, look, I didn't mean it that way. It came out wrong. Yeah, I can defend that. I've said a lot of things that came out wrong or came out in a way I didn't mean them to come out, maybe delivered the wrong way. Unfortunately, though, if you even mention I'm open to, it's not going to be good. But anyway, I do believe that to the left, socialism is what to the right is when you mention amnesty. Okay? Freckles said, I think that Mike lost it at that moment. I do too. Personally, I do. But I could be wrong. You could be wrong too. Bushy said he probably thought he would get some of them Democrat votes. It is the only thing that makes sense. You hit the nail on the head there. Mike loves his country, but that moment he screwed up big time. Conserve Q said, Jeremy, I'm a little bit behind, but these homes that illegal aliens are taking over, are they being subsidized from the government? They're not being subsidized from the government. Their loans are being subsidized by taxpayers. Or they're forgiven high interest or even down payments where you and I would have to pay them. So yes, that is happening. Absolutely. Absolutely. Death in Decay says you don't say amnesty unless you believe it. Or unless you're trying to get some last-minute votes. That could have happened too. Again, not a good move for him. Moving on. Hey, Eli, remember how I haven't brought you in much. I know you're working hard over there. I haven't brought you in much. But there's two things that the Democrats never seem to do these days. They never seem to mention how they're going to help American citizens. And instead, they tell you how they're going to help illegal aliens. And they never say how they're going to fix a situation. But I'm here to tell you today that we do have a policy. We finally have an actual policy coming from the left. And that is abolishing ICE immediately. That is a policy that they've finally set in stone. The DNC made abolishing ICE an official party policy. So I can't say they don't have any policies anymore. They do.
Well, you see, Jeremy, once we get rid of all the misogyny and the bigotry in the White House, that's when we're going to release our plan. You see, we do have a plan. It's a very good plan. But we cannot release the plan until we defeat evil. And that evil is Donald Trump being a horrible person and a very bad man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Having said that, our first policy that we want to bring to the forefront is abolishing ICE as we know it.
That's very good, Jeremy. I specifically like how you said forefront. I'm going to have to work on my accent going forward.
Yeah, that's how he says it. The forefront, it's almost like he's definitely got a lisp, right? But he also almost like he almost screws up saying the word. Forefront. Forefront. Yes, gotcha. Just accent, that's all. Just accent. The Democrat National Committee, the same committee that lied and funded the Steele dossier about the Russia hoax that was never true, clearly, has formally backed a resolution calling for the abolition of ICE. Newsweek reports that the DNC members approved the measure Saturday. So this is official, folks. It is official to the 3,000 that are watching here on Rumble. The Democrats on Saturday approved a measure during the party's summer meetings in Austin, Texas, calling on congressional Democrats to pass a legislation eliminating ICE and winding down the Federal Immigration Detention Center. That's called defunding the police. Just so you know. For Hakeem Jeffries, you said I don't call for defunding the police. Well, news for you, sir. You just did. Or you allowed it to happen. Anyway. The resolution also calls for withholding Department of Homeland Security funding unless the administration ends its series of enforcement practices, including workplace raids. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. We got 1,200 at one workplace. Not going to happen. Large-scale roundups. Not going to happen. And arrests at courthouse and ICE check-ins. Not going to happen. I have a question for the lefties. Obama deported 11 million, right, they say, in his 8 years? Do you know why we can't afford each and every single illegal alien the due process that the left wants us to afford them? Because you would never get through 1 million in 8 years, let alone 11. Would never happen. So where did Obama's 11 million deportations, how'd that happen? How did Obama deport 11 million people, so they say? Called him the deporter-in-chief, right? Now, some of them might have been voluntary. Some of them might have been turned away at the border, called a deportation. But let's just say even half of that. Let's go to 5.5 million. How did he deport all these people, giving them due process? When we had less immigration officers, less immigration courts, and less immigration judges? The answer is he couldn't have. So either he didn't deport all of those people, which would mean that his administration is a liar, or he did deport all of those people and he did not give them due process. The difference was the mainstream media had his back in doing that, and they don't have Trump's back in doing it. I'd guarantee you that if the mainstream media was following Obama and his deportations, you probably seen some of the same tactics used by ICE to go get individuals. It's not like they made up new tactics when President Trump came in. It's not like ICE said, hey, President Trump's here. Let's completely get rid of everything we've ever done. Let's completely get rid of the way we do things safety-wise and let's completely bring in a new set of rules now. So the question is, either Obama did not deport the amount of people as his administration said they did, which means they're a liar, or they did deport them without due process, which would make you all hypocrites. What's the answer? There's no way they got due process. It's not mathematically possible that each and every one of those people that Obama deported had due process in front of an immigration judge. There was far less immigration judges, far less immigration courts, far less ICE officers, far less Border Patrol agents. So you tell me, how the hell did that happen? I'll wait. Because I don't think it is. And here you have a policy now from the Democrats that says we want to abolish ICE and withhold funding from the Department of Homeland Security if we don't get what we want. There is your first stance, policy, agreed upon officially by the Democrat Party. There you go. Moving on. Somebody said, especially since Tom Homan did it under Obama. Well, there you go. There you go. Tom Homan was there during that. Somebody should ask Tom Homan that question live on TV. When he's on Fox or CNN or MS Now or wherever he visits, because he goes on all of them. Somebody should ask him that question. Now, Kentucky moderate Democrat Andy Beshear, who, by the way, I believe if Mitch McConnell is dead, had the right to appoint a senator in his stead. It's just my 2 cents on that one, even though I can't stand him. He's pushing to abolish the Electoral College. He says, fix the darn government constitutional amendment. Let's get rid of the Electoral College, giving no little state a voice, giving no little area a voice. The only voice that would be heard is of New York City, California, Texas, Illinois, these bigger states. That means if we get rid of the Electoral College, then we get away from everything that the Founding Fathers wanted this country to be.
The darn government constitutional amendment, it is time. It should outlaw partisan redistricting and enshrine part of the Voting Rights Act right there in the Constitution. It should create term limits.
Stop. You said it should outlaw partisan redistricting? Didn't we just get rid of that? Didn't we just get rid of partisan redistricting just now? Didn't we redistrict based on actual, population and people size rather than black or white? Didn't we kind of just, is it just me or?
That's for Congress and the Supreme Court. No more gaming those appointments. It should also overturn Citizens United and I think call for direct elections of the president and the vice president. That could actually make things work. A big idea that would, yes, change government, but in a way enshrined in the Constitution where people would know it's going to get better.
I didn't realize you support abolishing the Electoral College. If you're saying direct election of the president and vice president.
Yeah, I've said it a number of times, and it's because in Kentucky, we will never see a candidate for president or vice president unless they're from here. Why? Because people just expect that it'll go one way or the other. It's the idea that someone would get elected,
says the Democrat
not just
governor,
knowing about 7 states, but having to earn votes all over the United States. I certainly think it's time.
A Democrat governor complaining that Democrats don't get a fair shake in the state of Kentucky. I never understood a state that has Republican-controlled everything except for the governorship. So Republican-controlled House, Republican-controlled Senate, and the state overwhelmingly goes for a Republican president but has a Democrat governor. How make that make sense to me, little old me? Can anybody? Now you would say, I think common sense would tell you, that your answer would be, well, the people that voted for him for governor think it'd be better at their state level to have a Democrat, but on a national level, they feel it's better to have a Republican. Again, tell me how that makes sense. In no way, shape, or form do I think somebody on the left would have any positive effect on anything, even at a local level, let alone a state level or a national level. So explain it to me like I'm 5, how that happens. That never makes sense to me. You got the state that overwhelmingly supports red Senate in their state. You got a state that overwhelmingly supports the red House in their state. You got a state that overwhelmingly supports a red president in a presidential election. But you want me to believe that the state overwhelmingly supports a Democrat to govern them? That doesn't make any sense in reality. I understand where it makes sense politically. But in reality, it doesn't make sense at all. Now let's go from Kentucky and drive north to Michigan, where Jocelyn Benson's gubernatorial campaign hits a snag. Michigan Democrat must be decertified, according to the state election law, says a prominent activist. We have a video here. I'm going to pull up here for you. Let's see what he's saying. Let's see what the allegation is.
Jocelyn Benson should not be certified to appear on the November general election ballot as a Democratic nominee because she filed a false affidavit of identity to qualify as the candidate for governor.
What'd you do?
On that affidavit, each candidate has to attest to the fact that as of the date that they signed the affidavit, all campaign-related filing fees and fines required of the candidate or required of their candidate committees have been filed or paid. Well, as of the date in which Jocelyn Benson signed her affidavit of identity to run for governor, she had outstanding late filing fees that she had not paid, as well as it has been subsequently discovered that her candidate committee that was organized for Secretary of State run had not paid certain late filing fees as well. Now, she is the chief elections officer that is supposed to enforce the Michigan election law that requires each candidate to truthfully attest to those statements on the affidavit of identity. And she did not. And so now I filed a...
What's the penalty on that?
The penalty is that under the amended Michigan election law, a candidate cannot appear on the ballot as a candidate. They have to be decertified. They cannot be certified by the local county clerk, city clerk, or by the Secretary of State.
That's just election law.
That's election law.
If it's not only the perjury, and maybe
that's a separate.
Maybe she didn't know. Right?
That's a separate.
Just the fact that your paperwork's not in order, it's required by Michigan amended law that you not be certified to run for the office.
It is mandatory.
There you go. Jocelyn Benson not following her own state's election law and not enforcing the punishment for breaking the rule or the law of the state, which would be against her. See, this is called zero integrity. Zero integrity. Somebody asked what time the seminar is on Thursday. It's at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So I'll be in there with you, learning right alongside you. Okay? I watched the way he did it the other day, by the way. If you watched that seminar that we did on Saturday, after the show, I watched the way he does it, which he's going to show you on the seminar. And like I said, if you join in with what he does daily, you can actually join in every day and watch what they're buying and selling. It's almost like having Nancy Pelosi hold your hand and bring you through stocks, right? Especially when you find out that BlackRock is dabbling in all your 401ks. And you could wake up tomorrow and it could be gone because BlackRock does not care about you. So, more problems for the Michigan Secretary of State and her gubernatorial run. But I'm not done with Andy Beshear yet. I want to talk about what he says about Mitch McConnell. Hey, look, I'm going to completely agree with Andy Beshear here. Absolutely and completely agree with what he says about Mitch McConnell. I think all of us are kind of sick of this at this point.
Remaining moments here. You have been writing letters and trying to get updates on the status of Senator Mitch McConnell. Have you heard anything back from his office on how he's doing?
I've heard absolutely nothing back from Mitch McConnell. And while I do hope that he is getting better, I've known him my entire life. I wish him no harm. I actually wish him good health. His boss are the people of Kentucky. And this is why the Senate, the Republican-controlled Senate, feels so broken. They feel like they're not accountable to anyone. All he needs to do is call into this show for 2 minutes, or Fox News for 2 minutes, or do a video for 2 minutes to the people he's supposed to serve. But you know what? He absolutely refuses to do it. And then John Thune. As the leader of the Senate, you've got a duty to make sure all of your senators have the capacity to serve. And what is he saying? Not my job. That's not surprising. None of them will do their job right now and stand up to a president that is running over the Constitution at every turn.
I don't agree with that part, but I do agree with the Mitch McConnell part. You've got to show that you can function, man. Why are we here? Why are we here if not to do the right thing, have integrity, be truthful, be transparent, and work for the people who voted for you? Why are we here? Again, if I'm having a debate with somebody on the left and they go, well, you guys are covering for Mitch McConnell, he should absolutely be showing whether he's alive or not, or whether he has the mental capacity or ability or capabilities to do the job. I would say, I'm right there with you. I feel exactly the same way you feel. And I would have no problem agreeing with the person on the left in that debate. I don't think anybody in this chat would. And now Goldie says, why hasn't Scott Jennings visited his mentor? Well, see, I don't even think Scott talked to him. I think Scott thinks he talked to him. Put it that way. RL5 says BlackRock seized their assets. It's an international cartel. Well, they now have access to your 401k legally, and they're using them. 75 million people out there with a 401k. BlackRock is in there using your funds to make them more money, to invest in things for them to make them more money. They're literally using your money to buy up American properties and raise the price of it. Now, that doesn't mean that if you wanted to cash out, you can't cash out with the amount you have, but who knows what BlackRock's going to be into. Rosebud says, I have one comment, fellow LFA. Keep your guns and buy more. It's all we've got left to keep the oligarchs and the dictators away. Absolutely. Maxine Waters is MIA too. You're 100% right. Now, that's over in the House side of things. But you're right. And here's the other thing about Maxine Waters. Eli, can you do me a favor? Can you find out how long Maxine Waters has been a member of Congress? It's got to be like 30 years, right? Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. UI Manager says, are you sure about that? About BlackRock in your 401ks? Absolutely. Absolutely. Producer Eli, how long? What do we got here for Maxine Waters?
Well, it's over 30 years. January 3rd, 1991. Over 35 years.
And that's all been in the House of Representatives? In Congress?
Maxine Waters has served in the United States House of Representatives for over 35 years.
Okay. Eli, that's 16 elections. That California raisin can't walk a football field. And you want me to believe that she went out there and won 16 elections? Eli, what was that Hispanic guy's name that ran? Look him up. His name was Omar. I think it was Omar Navarro. Omar something. He ran against Maxine Waters like 3 separate times in California. Omar something. I can't remember his last name. Now, not to say that he was the greatest guy in the world. I think he ran into his own set of problems. But I don't think those set of problems ended up surfacing until like his 3rd time running against her. He had all the momentum in the world his first time or his first 2 times running against her, and he still couldn't beat her. And she's not out there on the campaign trail. She's not out there fighting. She's not out there doing town hall events. She's not out there, knocking on doors. Oh, she's out there singing the California Raisins song. Tell me how she gets 16-time elected. She isn't even smarter than a 5th grader, for crying out loud.
Ooh, I bet you wonder how I knew. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it was. Omar Navarro, a member of the Republican Party, he ran unsuccessfully against Waters in 2016, 2018, 2020, and 2022.
Yeah, so there you go. Now, I think some problems started surfacing about him, some things he'd done in his past. That's why you got to just let people know from the beginning. You know, if you've got a checkered past like I do, you got to let people know from the beginning. Here's what I did. Here's when I did it. Here's what I've done since. You either want me to represent you or you don't, be based on that. Well, if you lie, I can guarantee you it's going to come out. If you lie, it's going to come out somewhere along the lines. But he had a good chance on beating her. She didn't even campaign. I think she went to Chinatown once, singing, "Heard it through the grapevine." Said I heard it through the grapevine. She's actually the Democrat Party's James Brown. Hey! Live in California. 16 elections. That woman has won. Ha! Whatever she's eating, maybe we ought to be getting sponsored by that superfood. Maybe, just maybe. Now, one of the Democrat Party's official policies, we just found out Saturday, BWTK says, Jeremy, Google AI says you're wrong about 401k thing. Really? Watch the show. He lays out the law in which was passed. Watch the Saturday show, okay? After that, decide whether you want to move forward with the free seminar. Because he actually lays out the law in which was passed that they have the absolute right to your 401k. Because here's what it is. Your investment, we'll get back to the Democrat Party here in a minute. Whether it's Fidelity or whether it's whatever hedge fund or bank, major bank runs your 401k, you give them absolute ability to manage your 401k. You don't know what they're doing. You don't know when they're doing it. They'll give you reports, but they can do anything you want. When you have a 401k, you entrust your 401k to Fidelity or whatever stock management portfolio is running your 401k. They have the right to invest with anybody they want. BlackRock is now one of those investors. BlackRock, by law, in partnership with your hedge fund or your stock fund trading management company, absolutely is accessing your 401ks. It's just like if they go and they buy some of Johnson & Johnson, or they go buy some of NVIDIA, or they go buy some of Tesla, or they go buy some of whatever. BlackRock is coming in, and they are literally opening up your 401k for BlackRock to make their investments with your 401k. It absolutely is. Rosebud said, no, Jeremy's not wrong. My company did a 1/1/2026 with Charles Schwab. Now all of our money is dispersed with BlackRock. There you go. There you go. I only spit true facts here, baby. All right. We know that one of their policies is to get rid of ICE. That's a policy. Here's a threat. Supreme Court.
You mentioned two ways that the Supreme Court could be overhauled. Could you expand on that? And are Democrats prepared to take action on that now?
In my view, dramatic Supreme Court reform is necessary. And, you know, I'm going to leave it to the Democrats on the Judiciary Committee, led by Jamie Raskin, who will be the next chair. If the American people give us the ability to govern on their behalf in the majority.
So there you go, folks. They've said it. They want absolutely to pack the Supreme Court. They think that the Supreme Court is illegitimate. Now, how in the world you can say anybody who questions an election is unpatriotic and un-American, but at the same time say that the Supreme Court currently is illegitimate because President Trump stole the 2016 election and got 3 appointments in which he put up Justice Kavanaugh, Justice Amy Coney Barrett, and Justice Neil Gorsuch. They say those 3 are illegitimate because President Trump never beat Hillary Clinton. But again, that's the hypocrisy just coming out of their mouth constantly. And we're going to talk about the filibuster here in a little bit because that's another promise that they've said they're going to do. They're going to nuke the filibuster. Which, by the way, I think President Trump and the DOJ need to bring a lawsuit against the Senate. I really do. I'm going to put out a short clip of this a little later on. So if you follow me, I want you to share it everywhere, okay? By the way, Rosebud came back and said, we employees freaked out. We weren't told and we didn't find out until 2 months, 3/1/2026. Yeah. I'm telling you, folks, autonomy is the best way to do things. Always. Always. So, but I think, and Gary, I'm going to put this out there. I think the DOJ and President Trump need to sue the Senate for the filibuster. The filibuster is just Senate Rule 22. It has nothing to do with the Constitution. It's not constitutional. It's unconstitutional. And it should not be that the minority party gets to literally hold hostage legislation that the majority of the country voted in to have their agenda passed. Tell me how that makes sense. Why does the minority party wield the hammer of the Senate right now? Why does the minority party get say-so in everything? They have their own little filibuster built in because of Senate Rule 22. It's unconstitutional. The framers never said anything about a filibuster, ever. This is a rule, not a law. So here we are allowing one of our branches of government here, the legislative part, specifically the Senate, inside the legislative part of our government, we're allowing a rule, not a law, to dictate what becomes law because of their rule. How is that okay? It isn't. It was never meant to be that way. We'll get to that in a little bit, but I think a lawsuit needs to be filed, and it needs to be filed immediately. Okay? It's not fair to the American people. You're letting a small group of people dictate what happens to the country, even if they lose the election. A.A. Ron Broski said, why didn't Trump veto that BlackRock bill, or did it happen at a state level? No, it happened at a national level, and I'm not 100% sure when that bill came through. I'm pretty sure that bill came through either right before President Trump took office or right after, and it was probably stuck in a major bill of 5,000 pages. But I do believe it was before President Trump took office. RL5 says groundbreaking legislation. Sue the Senate. It's effing extortion. Sue them for that, damn it. We could do that. We could get a hold of Tom Fitton, a Judicial Watch. Maybe he's thought of it. I don't know. But I think the country's being held hostage. You want to talk about standing? The country has standing here. And you're shortchanging the country based on a minority part of the federal government that didn't win the last election. I think that is illegal. Now, let's move to the RNC for a minute. RNC Chairman Joe Gruters discusses the upcoming Republican midterm convention in Dallas. Okay? Now, unfortunately, I won't be able to be there because that same weekend is our Reagan dinner here in Iowa. And I will be at that. So I won't be able to be at the Republican National Convention. Maybe, just maybe, though, we can send Will Johnson there since he's in Texas. This will be the first time that the GOP will be holding midterm convention. Let's talk a little bit about the messaging at this crucial event. Messaging is the front and center. Quote, the DSA voters, the heels are dug in. But you've got independents, you've got your base, you've got moderates, all that can still be swayed. You've also got, like I said, Democrat moderates who do not want socialism to take over their party, much like the rhinos didn't want MAGA to take over their party. But see, they lost. So what's the tone going to be of this convention? And what should the Republicans communicate to the people out there who are thinking about who they're going to vote for in November? The Democrats are relying on history. We're relying on voters and information. We're relying on the voters out there to see a clear difference between populism and socialism. This convention is just one way that we're going to defy history. Okay? We're going to put the president front and center. We're going to show the contrast between socialists and Republicans and what the two are offering. I'd like to thank Fins Up for the $10 donation for the slush fund help. Thank you so much, man. Thank you, Fins Up. I appreciate you. Magic's World said we are considered Fidelity Investments, and BlackRock Fidelity Investments make money off numbers attached to each citizen. You're right. You're absolutely right. With President Trump headlining, some say he's the best communicator when he is talking to the American people out on the trail. Not so much inside. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. President Trump has a hard time, like, in the Oval Office or at the press room, in the press room, or even giving a State of the Union. He starts out very slow and monotone. He doesn't start getting animated until he starts going off the teleprompter. That's what we like. That's the kind of President Trump that we like. We like the off teleprompter, but only hitting talking points President Trump. The President Trump that talks from his heart, from the hip, cutting right to the chase, no BS. That's the best President Trump. So that's why when he's out on the campaign trail, and that's why when he's out in front of the American people, he shines and he gets elected. I don't like when he gives speeches from the Oval Office because he starts out very slow, very quiet, very, to me, boring, right? The President Trump that we all elected is the President Trump that's out there, and that's the President Trump that's going to be in Dallas. The idea of affordability is what the DSA has as you know it right now, wants you to believe that you can grab onto that, and that's the problem. But their approach is not going to lead the nation to the solutions that we need. Not at all. You can only take from everybody for so long and give to other people for so long and redistribute for so long before it's over. Okay? The president understands affordability is an issue, and he speaks directly to the people about it. The president has been going to bat for the American people since day one. 5 decades of politicians in D.C. have been selling out Americans every single day. That's why he passed the working families tax cuts. By the way, that's another thing. No tax on tips, working families tax cut, no tax on overtime. Those are other ways that he put money in the pockets of people, but yet everybody wants it all. They want inflation numbers down. They want housing prices numbers down. They want interest rates down. They want wages up. They want unemployment down. They want gas down. They want groceries down. Everybody wants everything, but name me a time in history where you had it. Name me a time in history when you had all that. I can name 2. Going into Reagan's second term and ending out President Trump's first term before COVID came in. Those are the 2 times in history that I can ever remember saying that. Other than that, it's not that way. Here's Fox News reporting that.
Joining me now is the chairman of the Republican National Committee, Joe Gruters. Chair, thank you so much for being here. Let's talk a little bit about the messaging at this crucial event. Messaging is front and center. You know, the DSA voters, their heels are dug in, but you've got independents, you've got your base, you've got moderates that you still can sway. So what is the tone going to be, and what do you want to communicate to people out there who are thinking about what they're going to do in November?
Well, listen, the Democrats are relying on history. We're relying on our voters and voters out there to see the clear difference. And so we have to show the contrast. And listen, this convention is just one way we're going to, defy history. We're doing things a little bit different. We're going to put the president front and center. We're going to show the contrast between the DSA and what we are offering and moving forward. And I encourage everybody, because this convention is going to be an unbelievable experience. It's going to be politics in full volume. for everybody out there. And we're listening. This is the first time in history we're giving the American people the chance to come. Go to GOPconvention.com. Join us. Everybody has an opportunity. We're going to have a live raffle. Everybody can come out and support the cause and join us.
It's a great opportunity to rally the troops, raise some money. And also, with President Trump headlining, some say he is the best communicator when he's talking to the American people. He knows how to speak to them, and he knows what the issues really are. This idea of affordability is what the DSA has, grabbed onto. But their approach, obviously, is not going to lead the nation to the solutions that we need. The president understands affordability is an issue, and he speaks to people directly about it.
Well, listen, the president's been going to bat for the American people since day one. 5 decades of politicians in D.C. have been selling out the American worker. That's why he passed the working family tax cuts, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. That's why he's trying to make sure we have fair trade deals. That's why we have things like the Trump RX accounts, which have reduced prescription drugs 300% to 500%. He is going to bat for the American people. He wants everybody to have the chance at the American dream. And those are the things we got to showcase at this convention.
Yeah.
We already saw what happens when the Democrats take control. Look at the shutdown, the 43 days. They're going to have investigations. It's going to be obstruction. It's going to be impeachment. These guys are not just focused on Trump derangement syndrome now. Now it's all about America derangement syndrome. They don't want America to win. Look at what their candidates believe what these candidates say they want to do. Get rid of Thanksgiving. Get rid of July 4th. Basic things that as Americans we all like. They want to fundamentally change the country. We can't let that happen. That's what this convention is going to be all about. We're going to show the American people the real contrast between and the two directions these parties want to take.
Yeah, sometimes people have a short memory. They're not thinking back to Biden's 9% inflation, gas prices at $5. President Trump has done a lot through the big, beautiful bill, making those tax cuts permanent for people and adding extra tax cuts that put more money in everybody's pockets. I think that's part of the messaging that he'll try to balance when he's also looking at the issue of the Iran war and higher oil and gas prices, to put it in context for people, but also to talk about what he will be doing moving forward.
Well, exactly right. And look what the DSA candidates want to do. I mean, they want to completely shut down everything, and they want to continue to allow tens of millions of illegals through the southern border. The president doesn't get enough credit. The fact that he shut down new releases through our southern border. We're at zero, I think, for 16 consecutive months in his efforts overall. The Democrats and DSA want to abolish ICE. But you can't expect anything when you have Mandami, AOC, Bernie Sanders in control of your party. We have the greatest showman that's ever lived, and that's how we're going to defy history. We're going to put Trump front and center at this convention. It's going to be a Trumpapalooza. It's going to be an amazing opportunity for us to basically go out there and tell the American people all the great things what this president has done and all the great things that we're going to continue to do over the final 2 years of his administration.
So real people will tell you that they don't agree with everything that their person that they voted for has done in office. Fake people will tell you, I agree with everything that the candidate I voted for has done in office. That's not logical. Not at all. What I will tell you is this. If the only thing that President Trump did was close that border so that there was zero releases into the interior of this country for 16 straight months, I'd have been okay with that. That's why I voted for him. I voted to stop the invasion. I voted to have that more than anything because I knew that President Trump was a free market guy and that regardless of what his policies were going forward, that the free market would work its way out over 4 years. More than likely about 2 years in, as it always does. It takes 2 years for any administration to undo what the previous administration did and have their policies start taking effect. You're always going to have that lap over. Always. Or overlap, whatever you want to call it. You're always going to have that. You're always going to have the two policies bumping heads and one person trying to overcome the other person's policies. That's why when Biden came in by executive order, he got rid of tons of President Trump's policies that weren't law. And what happened? It started an immediate decline. And it led to 20 million illegal aliens coming into this country, which is the size of a small country, which puts a strain on all of your systems and all of your programs, your housing and everything. If all President Trump did was close that border, I was okay with that. But he did far more than that. And he's continuing to do that. Now, you're only going to see about 1 million jobs created in his first 2 years. Okay? He needs, in his second 2 years, to create about 5 million jobs to be on par with what he did his first term. That's going to be pretty difficult for him to do. But I think he set the building blocks for that to happen. I think he set the building blocks for that with the $19 trillion of infrastructure and manufacturing and all of that stuff that people brought back into this country, all those companies that I talked about earlier. I think that all of those plants and manufacturing sites are going to be ready. And when he says golden era, what he means is you're going to see growth faster than you've ever seen growth in 2 years before in this country. That's what he means. That's what he says. So, like I said, you're never going to agree with everything that the candidate that you voted for does. But if he does the main things that you asked him to do or voted for him to do, how can you ever expect more than that? Having said that, tomorrow, primary day, Florida. What are we looking at? Here's a few videos pertaining to that.
First primary under a new congressional map approved during a 2026 special legislative session. The new boundaries have forced some longtime office holders into more competitive contests. One of those races includes Democratic Socialist-backed House candidate Oliver Larkin going after establishment Democratic Representative Jared Moskowitz. That race marks the last major primary for the DSA this year. Also happening Tuesday in Florida, the primary to replace Governor Ron DeSantis, who is term limited, and former Florida Attorney General Ashley Moody will have to defend her Senate seat after she was appointed to fill Marco Rubio's place when he became Secretary of State.
I think she did a great job.
Now, in Alaska, a so-called first primary.
I think she did a great job. I think she'll keep a hold of that seat. The question is, will Byron Donalds, by the way, another person who formerly in his life when he was young got in trouble with the law, just goes to show you. It just goes to show you how people can turn their lives around. And you know, Eli, I'm gonna stop here real quick on this Byron Donalds thing, and I'm gonna talk to you directly. I had a conversation with Sabrina this weekend, and I said, do you realize how hard it's going to be for somebody to come in who had a previous record when he was 18 years old, 17 actually, and then 18 is when it carried over into my punishment. Do you think that somebody who got into that trouble at that time, who's not an Iowa native, who's not the incumbent, Trump-endorsed incumbent, I might add, do you think that that kind of person can come in and beat somebody who's not only endorsed by Trump, not only an 8-year incumbent, not only a Iowa native, but also a doctor, a medical doctor? And Sabrina said something that was pretty profound. She said, how many people in our neighborhood can be lockstep with and agreeing with and identifying with a medical doctor who's lived most of their entire life in that field, not struggling, not being out in the world, not having financial issues, always being in these hoity-toity events? Do people identify with somebody like that? Or do more people identify with somebody who's normal, gone through the struggles, gotten out of trouble, created a business? You know what I mean? Like, who do people identify more with? You or somebody like that? And I said, well, if you're not talking about me, if you're just talking about in general, I think people identify with people that live the lives that they've lived. And she said, how many people can identify with the way a doctor lives? And not just like a tiny doctor. We're talking about a doctor who's been making some serious money her whole life. And I was like, that's a good point. Which brings me back to the Byron Donalds thing. He was a person who got in trouble when he was young, ended up going and creating a great life for himself and a great career, and now he's about to win the nomination for governor.
Yeah, true. I mean, essentially what you've done is the American dream. The American dream doesn't always involve prison, but that happened to be part of your journey. And it's like I say all the time, what's the point of going to prison and getting out if not having served your time, reformed yourself, made a better person of yourself? And what could be more aspiring than to run for office or something of that nature, you know,
Yeah.
and to show people you pulled yourself up by your bootstraps, you made some mistakes, you atoned for those mistakes, you learned from those mistakes, you've moved past those mistakes, and now you want to make things better and show people how to do that. You know, it's, like I said, that's the American dream. So, damn Skippy, people should be backing you.
And you know what else she said too? She said, so, and she goes, this is a medical doctor who's worked with pharmaceutical companies and big health insurance people her whole life. This is a person who's literally worked with the people that are part of the problem of why we can't get good health care, good health insurance. This is a person who's been rubbing elbows with these big pharmaceutical companies for a long time. It's also a person who called for amnesty and voted for the bill for the shutoff switches in the cars after 2027. She said, trust me, I think people identify more with you than they will her. And I said, it's not a bad idea. It's not a bad statement. So we'll move on. Byron Donald. Sorry for that, folks. Sorry for that. That was loud. Didn't mean to do that. I can't believe they're playing that. I guess that's Byron Donald's style. Eli, they're playing the, sorry about that volume issue, guys. That was my fault. Eli, they're playing the You Can't See Me, John Cena at his campaign. Hey, do what you got to do, right? But I think Byron Donald's, every place he goes looks like this. It is a packed event. Everywhere he goes. Pretty packed event. Sorry about that loud outburst, by the way. That video was awful loud. Here's Byron Donald speaking at a recent campaign event.
And so one of the things that they want to make sure we do is we do everything from elections to securing our nation here in Florida. We're going to continue to work with the federal government in 287G. We want to protect our ag lands, prepare for our future, and make sure that our water and our resources are protected as well. And so we're going to be about the business of all the things that are critical to the future of Florida. We want to make sure that that Florida dream is alive and well and that we remain the free state of Florida.
Congressman Byron Donald.
And so one of the things that they want to make sure we do is we do everything from elections to secure.
Let me ask you this. How many Floridians do we have in the live chat today? And how many of you are going to be voting for Byron Donalds in the primary tomorrow? NL Goldie says, I like Byron Donalds, but I don't understand why he don't debate. Well, I can't defend that. I'm right there with you. I cannot defend, especially if you're running for office. In your private or professional life, if you want to not debate somebody based on something, I get it. But if you're running for office and you don't debate your opponent, I do not agree with that. I know that it's very popular to do that these days. And I think the reason why is because of the gotcha moments, right? They don't want to empower their opposition with gotcha moments where they might misspeak or might say something wrong. I also see it as, like, who is he going to debate? Fishback? Like, those are the two with the highest numbers, right? Vita Rosa says, I wish DeSantis could stay forever. I wanted to move to Florida, but not sure about Byron. So, I don't know much about the Paul Renner guy, and I apologize. I just don't. I'm not afraid to tell you when I don't know something about. I don't know about I don't know about Renner. I don't know about this guy. I know that the numbers are leaning towards, Byron and Fishback. And Fishback's obviously, to me, is just not practical. Some of his ideas are great, but the way he's a very Nick Fuentes style guy. He's a very Ryan Matta style guy. It just doesn't. But again, I'm not in Florida, so it doesn't. I don't really have much say so in the matter. But making sure that we keep Florida red is a priority, right? Michelle says Paul Renner was the Speaker of the House with DeSantis. Oh, okay. Okay. I don't know him. I think Byron Donalds is a good negotiator. I think he's a good voice for legislation. I think he's I think he's great in his hearings. I don't know why he won't debate. So you're saying he hasn't debated? Well, I know he hasn't, but you're saying he won't debate Renner and he won't debate Fishback? Like, I understand why he wouldn't debate Fishback, but are you saying that he's also refused to debate Paul Renner? Because I think that you should be debating. If you are if you're running for any office, you damn sure should be debating, and you shouldn't be using the excuse of my opponent isn't a serious candidate. That's my personal opinion. That's my personal opinion. Arrow Pink said, and DeSantis will not endorse anyone. I did know that. Kathy says, I voted Renner. Donalds didn't debate. DeSantis is staying out of the primaries, apparently. He'll probably jump in for the general election. But Donald takes tons of AIPAC money, so know that. I did know that, actually. I did know that. But to me, somebody getting AIPAC money is not a disqualifier. I'm not one of those people that think that should be the case. I'm personally not taking the money because I don't want the controversy surrounding my campaign. I'm already going to have enough controversy surrounding my campaign as it is. You know, Eli, do you know that I've had to sit my kids down? And again, I'm not saying anything bad about it. It is what it is. It's the way the world is. But do you know that I've had to sit my kids down and I've had to say to them, in 2028, you're probably going to get a lot of people at school who are talking trash because every other campaign video out there is going to be, did you know that Jeremy Harrow was convicted of a felony in 1997? Did you know that he went to jail? Do you want somebody who spent time in the clink representing you? Don't vote for Jeremy or he'll make you have felonies too. Now, they won't talk about what I did afterwards. They won't talk about how I, requested and submitted to get the felonies dropped or to get gun rights restored or anything like that, Eli. They'll just go to that. And I said to my kids already, I said, I'm sorry you're going to have to deal with that. But you are. But you are. I will not put one attack ad out about anyone at all. It'll be all what I plan on doing. Now, if we have a debate, then I'll bring up some personal stuff if I have to. But it'll all be professional with me. If I bring up something against somebody in the primary, it'll be on their voting record, not on their life record. But, Eli, unfortunately, that's what's going to have to happen, and my kids are going to have to see it. Now, my kids know everything anyway. But the fact that they're going to have to live it every day on TV, every time you go to a commercial on TV, Jeremy Harrow, 30 years ago, did blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's really sad that that's the way things have become. I mean, I guess they've kind of always been that way, but it's gotten so much stronger. You hardly ever hear what somebody wants to do. It's like a pharmaceutical commercial. They tell you exactly what the drug does in the very beginning of the commercial, but then 80% to 90% of the rest of the commercial is what it could do to you. And by the end of the commercial, you forget, well, what the hell was this thing supposed to do in the beginning?
Right.
That's the same thing that politics have done today. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. Now, let me tell you, this guy's a jerk. He's an idiot. He's been to jail. He's done this. He's done this. What did he say he was going to do for us again? It's sad that that's the way things have become.
Yeah, which is why I think town halls and debates are very important. I really do. Because the answer that I'm going to have when people say that stuff, first of all, you're not going to do a gotcha moment because the whole world already knows. Okay? Something that I would never change a thing about who I was or my past because it made me who I am today. I know that's cliche, but it is what it is. That's life. But how are they going to beat when I say, so you are anti-reform? So you are saying that the prison system shouldn't even be a thing, that there should be no reform programs whatsoever, and that there's no forgiveness or second chances for people who do something when they're 17 years old. Is that what you're telling me? So you're saying that 17 and 18-year-olds today that make mistakes coming from a very hard upbringing, and then they turn their lives around. You don't support that. Oh, yeah, I support that. Then why are you making attack ads on me? So it's going to be very difficult for them to, honestly, Eli, to be able to defend that in a debate or a town hall.
Yeah, absolutely. God bless them.
Because I guarantee you, either you or somebody in your family has gone down some kind of a road before, and you've had to help them out of it, or you've had to be helped out of it. What's that saying Rocky says, Eli? It isn't how hard you get hit. It's about how many times you can get hit and keep getting back up. Isn't that the saying?
Mm-hmm. And keep moving forward.
Actually, that was Arnold Schwarzenegger you did there, bud, but close. You got to do the Sylvester's like this. Not lie. Get in the chopper. All right. If you were a betting man or woman, do you think John Fetterman becomes a Republican before the next election, or do you think he stays a Democrat and fights it out? That's the question. What say you in the live chat?
I really don't know. But they're not ashamed to say these kinds of things. Abolish all of those things that are not viable. And now Said, he just won. And I just want to issue a dare. Continue to campaign with Hassan Piker right now. You're in a general election now. I dare you. Keep campaigning with someone like Hassan Piker. If I was a Republican, I would just dump $20 million for ads.
Yep.
He pals around with Piker, the guy that, on the 25th anniversary of 9/11, my best friend says America deserved 9/11, and you're going to try to win a general election. So that's, how can he reconcile the outlandish thing that he said, and his record, and I'd also remind people that the vast majority, the majority of Michigan Dems picked someone other that wasn't El Sayed, he barely won by 14,000 votes. And if McMorrow wasn't in that race, without a doubt, he would have lost that. So he's not had a big night. He did one. But overall, remind people, the majority of Michigan Democrats picked someone other than he is.
Yeah, that's something that I picked up on that night, too, about how many people voted against him. That doesn't mean all those people vote against him in a general. But I did pick up on that. If you remember the night after the election, I said, look how many people voted against the guy. Like, that's how many people didn't want the guy. And again, polls said that he was up massively and he barely won, right? He won by like a percentage point. Mike Lee, the reason why Mike Lee was on that camera on the side there is because Mike Lee said, please join us. We're not socialists. And Fetterman is definitely facing a primary challenger of 2028 if he stays a Democrat. So I don't think he'll ever become a Republican. He's not an out of spite kind of guy, it doesn't seem like. And I know he says his family's all Republican. I think if he does anything, he becomes an independent. But I don't even think he does that. I think he takes his chances as a Democrat. I think he just decides because he's seems to be a principles guy, and he seems to be like I'd make a very bad Republican. At least he acknowledges it. He said I'd make a very bad Republican. I'm a Democrat. He's one of the Democrats who's holding on to the Democrat Party, which is respectable these days. The old Democrat Party. It's a respectable party these days. I think he stays a Democrat, but I think he votes with Republicans when it makes sense. That's what I think. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and talk about a federal court reinstating an ID requirement in Texas. What's that all about? Well, more on that right after this. Fatty 15. I've given this spiel, I don't know, hundreds of times maybe, about Fatty 15. Fatty 15 can be taken in two different ways. It can be taken in a pill form. It can also be taken in a gummy form. I want to show you some other things about this. 10 plus years of research, a decade of collaboration with the U.S. Navy, getting groundbreaking results, 30 plus awards, widespread recognition from leading authorities in health and wellness, 100 plus peer-reviewed studies in top-tier journals reinforce scientific credibility, and 60 plus patents. exclusive patents across multiple key healthcare applications. Whole lot of science in one tiny pill, of which 99% of customers report that Fatty 15's original capsules have become part of their daily health routine. Why? Because of what it does. Brain, metabolism, liver, red blood cells, and immunity. Every one of these target points is what Fatty 15 hits. But you know what it really does? Is it targets your cells, your biological cells, and it repairs any damage that is done to them. And what happens is the healthier your blood cells are, the longer your natural life is, your extent of your natural life, okay? It's made in the USA. That's awesome. It's money back guarantee, and you get a 3-month supply for only $101.90. All you have to do is go to fatty15.com, and when you go to do the checkout, use the promo code LFA. You do that, ladies and gentlemen, and you'll get your discount. You sign up for quarterly automatic deliveries, just comes right to your door. You don't even have to remember it. That's not bad for a 3-month supply. Fatty15.com and using promo code LFA. The next product that I want to talk about is Armra Colostrum at armra.com/LFATV. Now, there's no promo code here because the landing page is the promo code. Now, this also works on your metabolism and gut health, but it's very different than Fatty 15 because Armra Colostrum gives you 400 bionutrients that is not only good for metabolism, that is not only good for your gut health, but is also good for your heartburn if you get it. It'll completely get rid of that. It definitely helps your skin and any rashes or psoriasis that you may get. Bloating is the number one. If you're somebody who bloats, you can't take your wedding ring on and off, you can't get your watches on and off, you feel like you're just a balloon, this actually does wonders for that. And, ladies and gentlemen, your hair as well. Armra Colostrum at armra.com/LFATV. That is armra.com/LFATV. No promo code because the landing page is the promo code. Get yours today, and thank you to both Fatty 15 and Armra Colostrum. Moving on in the news now. Where'd we leave off here? I think we're Texas. A federal court in Texas, pertaining to Texas, just reinstated Texas strict ID requirements for mail-in ballots. Democrats are already panicking that it will make it harder for minorities to vote. A federal appeals court reinstated key parts of the state's 2021 election law that requires voters to provide a matching ID number or a social security number in the mail-in ballots and the applications. Democrats are absolutely furious and claiming that the rule suppresses minority voters, basically saying people of a different color are too stupid to get any of this stuff. That's racist. Requiring basic identification to cast a mail-in ballot is not voter suppression, folks. It's common friggin' sense. If your side needs weaker verification in order to feel competitive in elections, the problem is not the law. The problem is their intentions. So, I want to give a big shout out to the state of Texas and a big shout out to the people there working so hard, including Ken Paxton. Remember, Ken Paxton is the Attorney General there. He does amazing. He's the guy you want for your senator. AA Ron Broski says it's expensive to stay healthy, but worth it in the long run. You are absolutely right. It is expensive to stay healthy. If you want to eat right, you want to live right, it's expensive. We moved into our house over 2 years ago, and the yard was horrible. It was patchy. It had dust and dirt all over it. It took us 2 years and a few months to get our lawn to where it's a nice green lawn now. And I looked at it the other day and I said, man, it's been expensive. Non-stop work. You're talking water in the yard 2 times a day. You're talking having them come and do fertilizer and do the aerating stuff once every quarter. You're talking the mowing and the keeping up on it. and the nutrients that it needed to get there. It costs so much money just to have a nice yard. It also costs that much money to have a healthy body. You can do all of the free exercises you want, but if what you're taking in is full of chemicals, preservatives, and dyes, you're dead. You're absolutely dead. And unfortunately, that's what makes up a lot of food these days. So it really does suck. Somebody said they want us to be disgusting and out of and unhealthy and fat. Absolutely. By the way, Eli, speaking of fat, wasn't very happy with the picture you posted of me yesterday on my birthday. Not at all. Did you see that picture before you posted it, by the way? You posted a picture of me a year ago looking like the freaking blimp. I looked at it and I said, who the hell is that? That's me? I even wrote in the thread, dude, I was so fat, but it actually made me feel good because I saw the results based on what I was compared to what I am now. But I wasn't happy with you at the beginning of that. You're going to have to be careful from going from here on forward.
I mean, I posted it based off our friendship and memories and whatnot, and a happy birthday to you. So, you know, but you're right. You should have taken it as, oh, wow, I looked like that then. Why didn't you do a follow-up picture right afterwards? Hey, everybody, here's what I looked like then. Here's what I look like now. You know, should have taken as inspiration.
I said, dude, I go, I'm trying to get ready for an election here. And this guy's posting pictures of me when I was a blimp, for crying out loud.
You don't want to vote for this guy, Iowa. Look at how fat he used to be.
If you don't want to be a fat felon, don't vote for Jeremy Harrell. Pile it on, Eli. Although I'm down 35 pounds from that picture, so phoo-wee.
Jeremy Harrell, he eats your dreams. Don't let him eat your dreams, Iowa.
Oh, my Lanta. Actually, my campaign slogan, Eli, is going to be Don't Illinois my Iowa.
It's not too bad. I was actually thinking you could twist that song. Ooh, Dream Eater.
Or, I'm fat, you know it. I think that's already been done, though.
Ham and whole wheat, all right.
I think the favorite line of that song was, when you go outside to get the mail, it measures on the Richter scale because I'm fat. Weird Al, one of his 80s songs, right?
Down at the beach, I'm a lucky man. I'm the only one who gets a tan.
I did put out a social media video this weekend, though, where I talked about the 4 bills that I will introduce immediately, and not only introduce them to say I introduced bills in the House, I will literally fight for those bills to be co-sponsored and put on the House floor. Although it takes forever to get through committees, and the chances of you actually introducing a bill, getting it on the House floor, getting it passed, and then going to the Senate. Hold on 1 second, folks. All right. You know who that was, Eli? You know who just called me? I'll show you on the camera. I had to mute it because I had to take the call. I was waiting for this call back. This is who called me. Ready? Do you see that, folks? That is the Iowa Department of Corrections. Now you might think, wow, we were just talking about felonies and stuff and in trouble and running for office. Why is the Iowa Department of Corrections calling you, Jeremy? Why would they be doing that? Well, because I am starting my prison ministries. I talked to the Iowa Department of Corrections this morning to start going into the incarceration facilities and ministering to the prisoners there and giving them some hope and inspiration and encourage that you don't have to be part of this system forever, that you can get out and that you can be part of reform. You can be, positive member of your community, and that you can walk away from this and never go back. Because here's the problem, is that I don't know about any other states, but I remember at one point in the state of Illinois, they had an 80% return rate. So that means that people that got out of prison, 80% of them ended up coming back. I was lucky, blessed to be not part of that. I was part of the 20% that never went back. And so I know MDUSMC watches and he wants to be a part of this with me. But this is something that I have been called to do since 2002. So for 4 years, I've been kind of putting this on the back burner. And mainly because I didn't really know who God was until 2016. And since 2016, I've been really called to do it, and I've been ignoring it. And this morning, I finally took my first step to do that. And you know, especially here in Iowa, I think that there's so much potential for people who get caught up in bad things to turn their lives around and join the workforce and kick an illegal out of a job and come out of prison and get that job. That's what I'll be fighting for. So I'm very excited about that. It's called Rock Bottom Ministries. And there's only one way to go when you're rock bottom, okay? And that rock bottom, by the way, is Jesus. That's where you find him. He is your rock. So when you hit rock bottom, you're going to find Jesus, which is why so many people find him in prisons. So I can't wait. I'm very excited about that. I can't believe I actually got a phone call back because they're going to let me know when I can start. And they were actually, Eli, believe it or not, they were very excited. I was like, I explained my story to them. I said, look, I do this. I do this for a living. And then I also have my devotional show. And I really want to come in and do that. Dude, they said, this is so needed. The guys are going to be so happy. We're always looking for help. I couldn't believe it.
Damn, Skippy. Just hope it wasn't them like calling to say like, hey, we dug up some more charges on you from the past. Stay where you are. We're sending someone to your location.
Nope, not going to happen. Not going to happen. Purple Patriot said the singer Zach Williams does that. As a matter of fact, that song, Chainbreaker, that song will get me every time. That song gets me every time. He does it as a black and white video of him doing it in prison. Beautiful, beautiful video. And I got to tell you, folks, I'm more excited about that than anything. As a matter of fact, I kind of want to stop the show right now and call him back. But I answered the phone and asked him to call me back in 30 minutes when the show's done. And I'll let you know how it goes. But I'm very, very excited about this. Like, that just made my day. You know what I mean? That just made my day. So let's see what Eli, let's see what the people over on YouTube are saying. Poorly educated pedophile MAGA, no talent. Oh, wow. Please go back to back-breaking low-paid jobs. Thank you. Not sure what that means. Eli, the first thing I see over on YouTube, first time checking today, poorly uneducated pedophile MAGA, no talents. Well, thank you. I'll be praying for you. Wow. Some people, huh?
That escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did. Conley says, love the name. I had great-great-grandparents who were missionaries. That's awesome. What a good thing to do. One of the best things ever, Jeremy. Him, Carl, trust me, it's going to be my new favorite thing. Barb, I did not open the presents yesterday because we were gone all day yesterday. I'm going to be opening up as soon as I get home tonight. I promise, okay? Hey, look at that, Eli. Rosa just donated $200 and said, for Rock Bottom Ministries. Rosa, I am going to literally separate that out just for Rock Bottom Ministries. And it will be, if I have to use it to help the prisoners get books or anything like that, I will. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm so excited to do this. I'm going to take you guys right along with me. We're going to film it all. And we're going to show these guys that they matter. That they actually matter. That the world has not forgotten about them. Because I think that's one of the biggest things is the world you feel like the world forgets about you. Rosa, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you on behalf of all of those guys as well. Boy, that just kind of like threw off my whole day now. Now I'm all excited. All right. Got some other news. A federal judge is preventing the Department of Homeland Security from accessing CDL records for immigration enforcement. Judge Anthony Tranga, another rogue judge, is allowing thousands of illegal aliens and non-English speaking people to drive trucks on America's roadways and on America's interstates, putting innocent civilians at risk and causing deadly consequences. How many times have we seen an illegal alien truck driver kill American citizens? How many times now? And you've got Judge Anthony Tranga going, no, I, an unelected piece of trash rogue judge, I decide what happens in America. I decide what happens in the Department of Homeland Security. And I'm saying that the Department of Homeland Security has no absolute access to CDL records for immigration enforcement. So, okay, good, Judge Tranga. Eli, if any American citizen gets hurt, paralyzed, or killed after this ruling, that judge should be guilty of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And there should be old school punishment. I'm talking about bring back the gallows. You know, if we start actually bringing back capital punishment, you'll see crime start dropping. Because the low-minded dipshits out there who commit all that, they'll start thinking to themselves, maybe I shouldn't do that.
It's unbelievable to me how these rogue judges can continue to do this. MDUS MC said, Jeremy, let me know what days you're going to be there, and I'll make a point to drive up there to join you. In Jesus' name. Well, you know what would be really great, MDUS MC, is if we started a Rock Bottom Ministries chapter in every state. That would be really cool. That would be cool. So if this rogue judge wants to put people out there, let them drive these trucks, put other people in harm's way, that person should be guilty of whatever happens in lieu of that person driving. Oh, here's another one for you, Eli. We said we report on it almost every day. A migrant from Ghana has been arrested multiple times in 2 weeks for raping, sexually assaulting, and just regularly assaulting. So not just sexual assault, but also hitting, grabbing, hurting, raping, molesting. Women in Oklahoma. 26-year-old Jeff Kufi Asari, a foreign national from Ghana, has sexually assaulted 4 women just this month, Eli. Wow. More judges letting these guys out. That's the problem. Jeffrey Asari has been in jail 3 times in the last 2 weeks, all for allegedly assaulting women. On August 1st, near Northwest 23rd Street and Classen Boulevard, police responded to a possible rape. Asari allegedly pushed a woman against a bus stop window and put his hands down her pants. Another woman told police that Asari came up behind her while she was walking on Classen Boulevard, pulled her pants down, and fled after she fought and pushed him away. He was arrested for sexual battery and indecent exposure. 5 days later, near Scissortail Park, Asari allegedly walked up behind a woman, grabbed her by her butt multiple times, grabbed her by the back of her hair, and began digging in his pants. When a woman asked him to leave me alone, pushed him away, he started walking away. Police later spotted him and arrested him for sexual battery. 6 days after that, son of a bitch, on Wednesday, Asari allegedly approached another woman from behind, pulled her down to the ground, and then proceeded to try to rape her before local firefighters saw what was going on and intervened and had police come to back him up. What in the hell is wrong with the judges of our country where they keep letting these pieces of trash out on the streets to rape defenseless American women? Citizen vigilante, Eli. That's all I have to say.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not advocating it or anything. I do happen to agree with it. I'm so sick and tired of hearing about this crap. How can you, as a human being, they're not human beings, they're freaking possessed demons, let somebody like that back out onto the street? How do you not think to yourself, well, wait a minute, that could happen to my wife or something if she was walking down the street? How do you not connect that? There needs to be repercussions for these scumbag piece of shit judges. They're not judges. They're inhumane scumbags. And a call needs to be made to, I don't know where, the Department of Justice or something. Yeah, we got another scumbag who just let a rapist leave. And then they arrest that judge and imprison them for the rest of their natural fucking life.
Check this out, Eli. August 12th, 2026, rape in the first degree. August 6th, 2026, sexual battery in a park. August 1st, 2026, sexual battery in a park. March 5th, 2026, breaking and entering. October 3rd of 2025, breaking and entering. February of 23rd of 2025, trespass and obstruction. August of 2023, retail theft. This is the guy that keeps getting let out over and over and over again by judges, and he's raping people. And I'll bet you, Eli, if you even gave 5 seconds of your time to go over and look on the leftist where we simulcast, I'll guarantee you nobody condemns it. You'll just see MAGA, pedophile, Don't condemn this. You condone this. You love this. You love it. You people are... Look, regular Democrats like the Bill Maher's and the Stephen A. Smiths and even the Fettermans, those guys are okay. You radical lefties, you are out of your minds. There's something mentally wrong with you people. Eli.
Yeah, you're right. I just took a trip over there, and this is one of those things where it's so undeniably heinous and horrible that they just don't talk about it. They're talking about anything else. Oh, simple, try this. Oh, liberals, the MAGA's losing. They're talking about anything other than what you just brought up. It makes me sick.
Yeah, they'll never, ever talk about the issue at hand when it's something bad about their side. Now, you might say, well, how do you know that guy was a Democrat or Republican? I don't. But I damn well know that the judges that are letting him out on the streets are. I damn well know that. Your party has lost their mind. Rosa said, there's a world war against women. Europe and America do not care about women. Rosa, you're right, they can't. They can't. You've got the WNBA having, Eli, ready for this? Special and priority meetings to decide what they will call a man and what they will call a woman. Meaning they'll let trannies in, real trannies, to dunk on women. So that their wording says that people like Royce White can come in and play, right? But now they're having emergency meetings to decide what their opinion of a man and a woman is. Not what a man and a woman is, but what their opinion is, so they can keep these guys out. In which case, they should be opened up to a major lawsuit if that happens.
Damn skippy to that. Their opinion. Jesus.
And by the way, not that the WNBA would care. They're subsidized entirely by the NBA. So the NBA would be paying the lawsuit, not the WNBA. They have no money. The only time they make money is when Caitlin Clark and Sophie come into play. That's it. That's it. Here's Bill Maher talking about these illegals.
Immigrants still want to assimilate. But some now have this other attitude of melting pot. Fuck you, you melt. Look, you don't have to love everything about America. We don't. That's why Yelp was invented. But, you know, if you do get past ice, America's actually pretty cool. We say you do you. Eat the food your grandma cooked. Speak another language at home. Celebrate religious holidays. We welcome your food, your art, your fashion, your first ladies. But you have to answer one question. Do you like Western civilization? Because that's what we are, and that's not negotiable.
Do you like Western civilization? Because that's who we are, and that's not negotiable. I've been waiting to say this. I was mowing the yard this weekend on my birthday. I get peace and relief out of doing yard work. I think as any homeowner should. So Eli, I'm doing the yard work this weekend, and I thought to myself, why do I say Islam should not be here in America? It should not be in America because Islam is not compatible with the West. Lefties will say, how dare you? That's bigoted, that's racist, that's nationalism, and that's wrong. Okay. Here's my question then for the person that wants to debate me on that. Are we compatible in their country? Think about what I just said. Are we in the West, man or woman, if we were to go take our Christian values to their country, would we be compatible with their rules, their traditions, their culture, their laws, and their way of life? Let's bring up that Rumble chat. Let's see what thousands of people are saying in real time, shall we? Aeropink says, no. Patriot Mom says, hell no. Cindy Purnell says, absolutely not. MDUSMC, absolutely not. Sly says we're compatible. I don't think so, Sly. I don't think we're compatible over there. I don't think they'd allow us to live our lives, our culture, and the way we live over there. Sherry says they would kill you. Eileen says, of course not. Pissed Off Lady says no. MSX Kitty says no way compatible. Him Carl says nope. Cindy says even liberals wouldn't be compatible. The Zoo, nope. Conley, no. Elin, wow. Carver Jerry, hell no. LKPLA, no, we will be beheaded. K. Lewis, no way. NL Goldley, they'd never allow it. Sing a new song, no. RL5 Trucker, no, they'd kill you. Barb Naylor, no freaking way. Mammal Heart, no way. Calpurnia, no. AA, hell no. RL Bobby Driver, no. Carol, no. TEC Collins, no. Tony Two Thumbs, they want us dead. Caramore, damn Skippy, not. D Cutie, hell no. The Real Cub, nope. Oh, Sly, you were answering someone else. Okay, my fault, buddy. Vita Rosa, start reading the Quran yesterday. It is nauseating. It's all sex, 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 sex. They're perverted and disgusting. Hey, lefties, are you ready for this? Hey, lefties who claim to hate Epstein and all of a sudden you just started hating him now. Hey, did you know that Epstein's youngest victim was still way older than Muhammad's 9-year-old wife? By the way, should have said 6-year-old wife that he raped at 9. Eli, these guys always want to talk about Epstein and pedophile and pedophile and pedophile. But in the same exact statement, they'll sit there and they will defend Islam all the live long day. Are we compatible with them? No, they'd kill us. So spare me with we are compatible with them. No, we are not. Period. And number 2, Epstein's youngest victim was still way older than Muhammad, their prophet, raping a 9-year-old. So don't give me your BS. You're all wrong. You're all screwed up in the head. And none of you, not a single one of you, actually think the reality that you're living in, you think that that's okay. You're just saying it online because you're a dumbass digital douchebag who has zero relevancy on this planet. Hypocrite, dumbass, irrelevant losers. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. The thing that pisses me off the most is these little posers that will never admit. You always try to call them out, but they find a way to, just like a liberal does, they find a way to dance around the subject. Hey, why don't you gays for Gaza go over there and actually help? No. Why don't you actually fly over there and show us all how much they really love you? They can't wait to show you how much they really love you. So why don't you go over there and put your money, because they know they're safe in America and they can shoot their mouth off and say whatever the hell they want.
Absolutely. Oh, did you see the migrant hell erupting again at Spain's border? Oh, they got another one. Remember, we used to get these every day under Joe Biden. In America. Happening again. Eli, American citizens should have armed up and shot everybody that came over that border illegally when that was happening to us. We should have. We were being invaded. Legally, we should have shot every person that came across that border that made it into the interior of this country without any kind of prior stopping with DHS or Border Patrol. Remember the ones that were coming in on the boats in California and just jumping out of the boat and running into America? Somebody should have sat there and just popped all of them off. We were getting invaded. That's legal. That's not murder.
Absolutely. Our country was under siege, our government was under attack, and unfortunately we were all dumbed down to the point where we didn't do anything about it. Here we are today.
Here we are today trying to get rid of them all. How about this? A new wave of the illegal Moroccans run across the Spanish border.
To the dismay of locals who say they're terrified of leaving their houses.
La vergüenza esto, mujeres violadas,
Sí. Entre ellos los llevan al monte.
Violadas.
¿Dónde está la policía que tenemos aquí? ¿Para qué estamos pagando impuestos?
De Ceuta
¿Por qué no lo recogen?
estoy hablando.
¿Pero
Las
por qué no
mujeres
lo
de aquí
cogen?
tenemos que estar así. Atemorizar. Atemorizar que no podemos ni salir de la casa.
Yo también me irán ni salir de la casa.
Esto es injusto. Lo que estamos viviendo es injusto. Quítate de aquí. Es injusto. Es muy injusto que tengamos que vivir así. No puede ser. No puede ser. La entrevista no es de vergüenza. Y aquí se tiene que levantar Ceuta y el país porque no podemos estar así más. Yo estoy embarazada y estoy sufriendo. Tengo un hijo y estoy sufriendo y me duele de mi ciudad así. Me duele, hay que levantarse. No puede ser que nos invadan así.
This doctor working in Ceuta agrees, arguing that the healthcare workers are risking their own health and that of their families by treating the illegal migrants.
Totalmente. Es que nosotros en la consulta estamos viendo cada consulta con 20, 17 pacientes todos, pero aparte también la consulta que hemos abierto para el triaje de los inmigrantes llena 47, 50 pendientes a ver y es una situación completamente insostenible.
And despite the locals of Ceuta speaking out about their dissatisfaction with the situation, the remaining Moroccans staged a protest demanding asylum.
We are waiting for asylum because people from other countries who are here get asylum. Why is it only that Moroccans who can't get asylum? Why is it only Moroccans? What fault do we have?
¿Qué culpa tenemos nosotros?
Another mass border rush.
Yep. It looks familiar, doesn't it? PTSD much? These people are being overrun just like we were. And they're done with it. And we need to focus on getting rid of the people that no longer belong here. And that's exactly what President Trump's doing. If you don't like it, kick rocks. I don't know what to tell you. We don't care about your feelings. We need to be getting rid of all of them and Ilhan Omar, which apparently they're ramping up the denaturalization. We talked about that 2 weeks ago, that they're ramping up the denaturalization process. I'm hoping that that's setting the stage for Ilhan Omar. It sounded like it to me.
News alert, Ilhan Omar under investigation after racking up millions while she was in Congress. Senior national correspondent Kevin Corke has it. What's up, Kevin? Good to see you, my friend. What's the old saying? Follow the money? Well, that's precisely what the House Oversight Committee is doing. They are probing squad member Ilhan Omar's skyrocketing family wealth, Jesse, especially in the wake of that $9 billion, some would argue $19 billion, Somali social services fraud scandal that exploded in her district in Minnesota. The Oversight Chair, James Comer, says his team's lawyers are exploring the extraordinary step of subpoenaing Omar's spouse over his curious business practices. Republicans want to know how the Somali-born Omar and her politically connected husband Tim Minette went from being nearly broke to being worth around $30 million in just a year.
Okay, great. We all know this. Let's see something start happening. Look, I understand it takes time, but I want to see it happen. You know Nancy Mace? She just started a new podcast, Eli, now that she's going to be out of a job. She started a new podcast where she showed off all her tattoos that nobody knew she had all those tattoos. I thought that was pretty funny. But she said in her podcast, she said that Republicans blocked her from subpoenaing Ilhan Omar's immigration records, which they did. We reported on that in real time. And are also stopping bills to ban foreign-born citizens from serving in Congress and as federal judges. So, here are the 5 bills that I will introduce if, and hopefully when I win, the congressional seat here in Iowa in 2028. That will be one of the bills. No foreign-born people can be serving as judges or on Congress. That's number 1. That was added to my original list, by the way. Second one, term limits. Nobody's going to want to co-sign on that one, but I don't care. I'm still going to introduce it, and I'm going to expose everybody that doesn't sign on for it. Okay? No Chinese or foreign-born countries owning or foreign countries owning land in the United States of America. That should not happen. The CCP should not be owning land in the United States of America. Period. Next one, banning flock cameras nationwide. Look, I understand the intrusive things that these are. I get it, 100%. And more needs to be done about this as well. Absolutely. But flock cameras, they've already shown to be that they are the most useless, intrusive cameras and piece of technology that we have these days. They're even starting to pull over people for car theft, and they're like, dude, I'm going to work. And then they prove that the car is theirs. Absolutely should be a bill. And then the other one, single issue bills. Single issue bills. No more 5,000 page. It needs to be single issue bills. Now, nobody's going to vote for those things for the most part. But at least I can expose the ones who don't. Right? At least we can expose the ones who don't in real time. And now I'm just going to leave it with this before Will Johnson comes on. President Trump is now he's set to classify the ballroom as a military project to bypass the activist judges. Just like he did with the wall. If he coins it and literally labels it an official military project based on what's going on below, well then guess what? These judges aren't going to have much to say about it. That ballroom is going to be built, whether you like it or not. And his name will stay on the Kennedy Center. Well, that's going to do it for us today here on Live from America. But don't worry, you're in good hands. Will Johnson comes up next. There are right ways and there are wrong ways, but there's only one Yahweh. So stand up tall, keep your shoulders back, keep your chest out, keep your head up high, because you are a child of God, and no weapon formed against you will ever prosper. I hope the information that you got today will help you out in your life. Make sure you clip out if you want and share as much as you want. Share my short clips, and I'll see you tomorrow. Keep your families and your friends and your pets close. Keep a smile on your face, and whatever you do, never stop fighting for this constitutional republic, and never stop spreading the gospel. God bless each and every one of you. Stay tuned for Will Johnson next here on LFA, Live from America. And remember, Secret America, back at 7 o'clock tonight on their own stream if you want to come back and watch. Have a great day, everybody. Peace out.